I want to welcome you to the Charly Crawford podcast. Let's ride.
This episode is brought to you by Techstar Kubota in Stephenville, Texas. Got land to care for, a yard that needs taming, or a job that calls for serious muscle? Then you got to check out Techstar Kubota in Stephenville, Texas, your go-to source for top-tier Kubota tractors, mowers, utility vehicles, and construction equipment. Whether you're farming, landscaping, or tackling projects around your property, they've got the equipment to help you get more done. From rugged tractors and backhoes to precision mowers and utility vehicles, Techstar Kubota pairs great machines with even better customer service. And right now, they've got serious savings on select Kubota products, like low monthly payments on tractor packages, 0% APR offers, and special deals on Z-Series mowers and construction equipment. But hurry, these exclusive offers won't last long. Need parts? They've got them. Need service? They'll take care of it. And their team of trained experts is ready to help match you with the right equipment for your job and your budget. So head over to techstarkubota.com or call 254-968-0911 today. That's Techstar Kubota in Stephenville, where hard work meets outstanding service and unbeatable deals.
Hey, Big Al. How you been, buddy?
Doing good. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this.
Heck yeah.
Obviously, I took some time off from my career and everything, but here I am, which I didn't tell you this, Charlie, but I've had 3 strokes, so I'm just kind of getting back to somewhat normal. I never was real normal, but
none of us could be normal doing what we do, for sure.
No.
Well, man, you were the godfather. You were one of the guys that, me and Luke, we would break down roping and Chad, and the amount of lives that you touched, not only with just a 30 NFR appearances, which is wild, the world titles from 79 to 90, 95, and then 2006, kind of a little bit like when we talked with Walt, where he went that 26-year gap from, I think, 1981 to 2007. That's phenomenal how well you guys were able to stay at the top of your game for so long, and just your career, your ability to coach people, your ability to stay sharp and to keep going up and down that road for that long. That's impressive as well.
Well, thank you. It's pretty humbling when I hear somebody say that about me or whatever, but it was cool to know that, I was called according to a purpose. Like there's a real scripture that challenged me, and when you take ownership of certain scriptures, they can be yours. And one of them was, when you love the Lord and know that you're called according to his purpose, then, man, what an exciting life it is. So even though he was letting me do what I enjoyed doing, very competitive, loved roping, loved horses, so I got to do everything I wanted to do. And he was just asking me along the way to just take a little bit of time for people, like that one person a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't never going to be no Billy Graham, I knew that, but just to be able to be a positive impact or influence on one person a day, that's what I started calling divine appointment. Meaning morning, noon, or night, you never know when God's going to bring someone your way into your life. And I just wanted to start by saying this love triangle that I was kind of mentioning a minute ago was something that was introduced to me as a young man, and it was actually, if you imagine a triangle, you guys out there, the top of it is God, if we do it correctly. The other corner of it was my wife, Peggy, and then I'm on the other side. And by remembering that, I had 2 of the greatest relationships ever to help me achieve all the things I achieved. And I'd like to say we achieved them. I partnered up with Jesus. I partnered up with Peggy. And man, she's been with me for 50 years. It's been just an amazing ride. And I've been to Israel, Brazil. I've been all over the place with the talent that God gave me.
Well, it's a very humble way to talk about where you are in your career, because it was a we between Jesus, between what your wife stood beside you, back then. And it's not much different now. I mean, it takes a pretty strong, willing wife to be able to, even though that they didn't go to as many rodeos as you guys did, there's still so many events even now that these guys are going to. So there is so much of a humbleness to where it is a team. And man, when it's when you're on separate teams, that's when it feels pretty hard in this industry.
Yeah, and it's been very inspiring to see, other people, Walt and Darlene Woodard, Charles and Londa Pogue, Speedy and Jennifer. And I don't know where some of us would have been without our wives, right there beside us, helping us drive all those miles, take care of the horses, the kids. I mean, it's just there's no way I could have done it by myself. And I really do honor my wife for doing all the stuff that she did while she was at home. She actually, before we had kids, she would drive just as much as I would. I can't. We was kidding the other day. We grew up in single cab trucks, so I slept a lot of the time on Peggy's lap, and then when my turn to drive, she'd sleep on my lap, or with one knee on top of the dash or one foot on the dash, and just kind of amazing what that does. That bond that brings to. Fortunately, we were best friends for 8 years before we had children, so that really helped set up our relationship.
Well, what you been up to now? Because you're back in Texas and building on a place.
Yeah, we're building a place and building another like training facility. Uh, One of my sons, Tyler's living there, and Joel's going to come up and do clinics, schools with us, and we're going to do lots of like podcast videos and everything there.
That'll be fun.
And I am going to work on my roping again, just to kind of show people these same fundamentals will work at my age. I'm
There's
68
a lot
now.
to that because you guys, I think, in my opinion, created such a blueprint to learn how to make tempo runs, like we talked earlier, consistent runs. You guys learned how to start the more runs you guys made back then. That was more money you guys were making between the rodeos, between the jackpots. You guys started the consistency of, like you said earlier, be aggressive, but don't miss.
Mm-hmm.
You guys created that, and that stuff's still here today. You think of the 13 ropings down. That has not left any of those handicap ropings. And so the blueprint you guys have on being able to get good position, set up the steer, knowing where the steer is going, learning to read the timing, all those things that you guys learn how to do on your own is still, in so many ropings, so valuable.
Absolutely. Like we was kind of kidding about that, and I kid people about be as fast as you can without missing. And sometimes, like in my clinics or schools, or even just passing people, trying to encourage them, kids miss the second part. They hear be as fast as you can.
They blanked out.
But not without missing.
Yeah.
That's like, and that's where we, at the NFR, all of us are trying to be as fast as we can without missing. But as you know, in rodeo, it's a little different than jackpot. Jackpot, you got to be 100%. So that's a little different mindset than rodeo. And hopefully that helps somebody out there with their mental game. Be as fast as you can without missing. In rodeo, it's a little different. You can lose a little consistency, and you almost have to be fast enough to win. But jackpotting, you got to catch 4 in a row. So that hopefully that helps.
Well,
somebody.
your era for so long was, you watch some of the best headers in the world. Back then, that's when they used their head horses. They got the good starts. They ran in position. They set that steer up. It's not that we're discrediting anybody with what they're doing now. It's amazing to see Driggers at 3 coils still be able to control, and all those guys that what they're doing now, it's phenomenal. But the blueprint you guys created back then, that fits so many numbered ropers. I mean, I would say probably 85% of team ropers that need to learn how to make sure that like these are the runs you're trying to make, because these runs will work. Not so much Cowboy Channel. I always say there's a difference between entertainment and education.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboy Channel for a number 3, that's just straight up entertainment. When the guys are bringing the rope, the angle they have, where they're going, that's more watching the entertainment. I love watching 4th and 25 at a football game too, when they got 5 wide receivers, shotgun. I mean, you know what I mean? They're sending it down the field, but it's not the same play with so many guys. They're just learning how to be consistent, learn the control where they need the control. And it's a different, I always tell education, I like the futurities, because like you watch the ropers there, they're running in position.
Mm-hmm.
You got Trevor Brazile, you got Ren Richard, you have Billy Jack Saban, some of the best headers in the world, Driggers and Clay Smith, when they go to the futurities, well, they're running in position. So you're really seeing how well they ride their horse across the line, when they bring their swing up, the control that they have. The heeling is still pretty fast in the futurities, but on the head side, that's the run that would win a 13 roping down all the way to the 7.
Absolutely. Well, and the goal of that, which I too, I haven't got into it. As people know, I'm not really into it like some of the guys are, but I admire the fact that they know a horse can only be as good as the way you ride him. So these guys are the best at getting the best out of that horse. The horses are athletes. So one guy on him versus another guy's, that's two different horses. But you got somebody that can bring out the best in that horse and show that horse and what he can really do. I think that's so cool. But yeah, you're not bombing out every time to show how good that horse is, but they're more riding position and doing things a little bit more backed off a little bit just to show how great that horse can be over and over again every time.
Yeah. Well, talk a little bit about where you're from, because we both kind of came from the same area up there in the Northwest, and then where you kind of migrated to after that a little bit on, because I was the same. I grew up there in Oregon, and then I kind of followed the trends. Like I would go with wherever the hot spots were on the roping side, because the Northwest great in the summertime, but then that's about it. So for me, I had to, if I knew if I was going to be good, I had to get around the best guys, and it looked like your route was somewhat similar as well.
Absolutely. I was from just a little bit north of you from the state of Washington and graduated from Ellensburg, which everybody knows it's one of the coolest rodeos there is. I'm really proud of the Ellensburg Rodeo. And later on, they inducted me in the Hall of Fame, and that meant a lot to me. And about so many cool people up there, and a lot of them influenced my roping. I'm sure you remember Troy Perkins and Bobby Burrow and guys like that. But there come a time that I knew that if I didn't get out of there and pursue better ropers, that I got where I could beat most everybody in Washington at a certain time in my life. But then I just thought, well, I'm just a big fish in a little pond. So if I don't go south, like fortunately, Camarillo's came up there and did his school, and I watched Walt Woodard come up and beat up on us at jackpots, and he could catch everyone by 2 feet. And so I'm like you. I followed them to California, and just knew I got to go get. My dad did everything in the world he could, talk me out of it. My dad was born in 1917, and through the Depression, so it was a different mindset. It was a work mindset. Put a roof over and put food in your kid's mouth. That's all my dad ever cared about. So me thinking that I can make a living with a rope was a joke to him. He's like, you can't do it. You can't do it. It's just for fun, kind of like golfing or whatever. But man, there was just something in me, that natural competitive thing that almost made me want to prove to him even more that no, I'm going to give it my best shot. But what was so cool about my father, I'm not going to give you any money. Don't call me for any kind of financial support. I'll give you 1 year and then you come back, and then you're going to go to work being a water well driller. My dad was a well driller and my brother's a well driller. So we have like 4 generations or something of well drillers in our family. But one thing my mom told me before she passed away when I was 15 was, whatever you do, follow your heart and wherever God leads you, but don't don't allow your dad to manipulate you into be a water well driller if that's not what you want to do. Do what your heart tells you that you want. So between my mom and my dad, my mom basically saying you can do anything that you set your mind to, my dad saying that I couldn't do it. I used both of those motivating factors to try really hard and do my best. But it's kind of cool knowing there was no net underneath me. If I failed,
No plan B.
no plan B.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of kids, they have a plan B, and that kind of hurts them from sacrificing whatever it
There's
takes.
times you got to burn the boats, because if there's no other option, you're all in. And there's always, well, like I can always do this. Doesn't seem like there's as much try from what I've seen. And I know my plan B was shoeing horses and riding colts, and if that didn't work, probably Schwab's. Because Schwab's was probably one of the best places that a guy that didn't have much intelligence could go for, like me. I wasn't great at school, but Schwab's had a great program where you could start from the bottom and you could work your way as high as you wanted to go. And so those were my options, and I didn't want them. I didn't want to. It's not that I ever felt too good for it. It was my motivation. It was like, man, I'm not wanting to break my back if there is a way that I could figure out how to do this, like I feel like more doors will open this route than just being, because I like, even to this day, I still like traveling. I still love going and seeing different places.
Mm-hmm.
And that was me. I wanted to go see the world.
Same here. I love traveling. I love seeing new places. And wouldn't you say that? I mean, we all want to take the credit, like, oh, my work ethic was better than everybody else's. And yes, I worked hard and practiced as hard as anybody. But really, it boils down to love. I loved roping so much and loved competition so much that it was the love of it that drove me to sacrifice what I did and commit. And that came with a lot of discipline and integrity in the practice pen. But it was because I loved it
Yeah.
first.
So when you went from Washington down to California, not only the weather, but I would have to say that the competition, I mean, it had to be kind of fun when you went down there, but in the same sense, what was some of the things that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a long way from home also?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was very challenging for sure because, as everyone knows in jackpot roping, like certain guys, like say healers, they have the best. Say you can enter 3 times, so they have the best 3 headers. Well, then if you're not one of the top 3 healers, all the headers are gone. The top 3. Well, then the next 3, the fourth, fifth, and sixth best healers, then they get those headers. So can you imagine this?
Almost like draft picks.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? If you don't get
exactly,
those draft picks, like it's pretty tough after that.
exactly. And it's a harsh world in a way. It's just like, how am I going to work into getting one of those top headers, or even the fourth, fifth, and sixth best headers? I mean, when I got in there, dumb kid from Washington, no one ever even heard of me. I was bottom of the barrel headers because I was the bottom of the barrel healer. But it's this weird thing in my mind. It was just like I just kept putting. There was always a target on the 3 healers better than me, and I was just like, I'm gonna try my best to pretty soon work my way into their partners.
When you got down there to California, who were those guys at the top?
Oh, of the headers was like Bobby McClellan, Les Hurties, Jim Rodriguez. I know these are all names that even you might not remember. I don't know. I mean, I go back even further than you, but Joel Gellerman, of course, David Moats, but none of them guys have anything to do with me. I mean, I had to rope with pretty much just jackpot ropers, and of course, Brian Burrows is one of the best. Jesse James is one of the best, and I worked my way up to being able to rope with Brian and Jesse. And
Who was the healers that you had your
the
bullseye on
bullseye on?
that you were
Well,
studying?
Denny Watkins, Walt Woodard, Stan Melshaw, Johnny Masters. Again, these are all, some of them are names that some people wouldn't remember or whatever. And Matt Silvera. Do you remember Matt Silvera? He was a really, really good healer back in the day. And so anyway, and there's a lot more. Dennis Gates was really, really good at that time. And so, yeah, I just kind of kept working, raising the bar. It was just constantly challenging myself to try to be better. Because it's obvious after a while that you're only as good as the header that you rope with or the horse you ride. So I kept trying to get better horses and better partners and just kept climbing that ladder.
Because back then there wasn't the number system to kind of cut your teeth and keep kind of learning how to win and things like that. It was, no, you got thrown to the wolves.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was no numbered ropings. It was everyone showed up at this place and the best guys won.
I don't know if you remember this, but they had a deal called the non-winners ropings. And that was before the handicap system. I know, you're laughing at my age, right?
No, I was laughing at their marketing. The non-winners
ropings. So when you think about this, like Oakdale, Cowboy Capital of the World, Oakdale, that was one of the best jackpot ropings you could go to. Chowchilla, Riverside, Las Vegas. It was kind of like the top 4 or 5 ropings. And if you'd ever placed in any of those, you couldn't rope at all the other jackpots. Or if you've been to the NFR, you definitely couldn't rope in them. So it was non-winners rope. So it was almost like a game reserve. And then one time I had a guy, Jim Wheatley, challenge me. He goes, So are you always going to be a non-winner all your life, or oh my gosh? And because of people that know me and how competitive, you could just almost imagine the fire that was burning inside me when he said that. And but it was cool because he challenged me, and I owe a lot just to that guy at that time. And anyway, fast forward it, I ended up going to all these. Riverside was one of the big ones. Chowchill, I seem to always do pretty good at Chowchill, which is one of the big ones. But my very first time when I felt like I knew that I was one of the guys, kind of identity. I always had, a lot of people have an identity crisis until they finally get over the hump, so to speak. So all them guys are out there, Rodeo and Leo and Walt and all of them. Well, guess what? I'm around with these jackpots, just honing my skills, practicing every day. And the Riverside 10 steer was coming up. So I got the best partners that I could possibly get, three of them. Man, I just couldn't wait to take a shot at Leo and Gerald and Walt Woodard and Denny Watkins and all them guys. And so we go down there and they have a lot of teams. And boy, it was intimidating. It was a big roping for me. But I was just so tuned in that I ended up winning first, second, and fourth. So I mean, I actually annihilated him at that rope, and man, it was just I couldn't tell you like on the way home, my identity had changed. It was almost like when I was looking in the rearview mirror, I'm like, well, you're a different guy now. You actually, I proved to myself I can beat them guys, even if it was only one time. It was like now I know that I can do it. So I mean, I just think that was everything to me is knowing that if I can beat them once, I can beat them again. So that was like a big deal for me early in my life.
And how old were you at that point?
Oh Lord, good question. I don't know.
Because I thought you made the finals early.
Yeah, I made the finals at 21 years old with Reg Camarillo. So it was probably when maybe I was 20 years old. I'm betting, because it took that confidence to just go ahead and ask Reg if he would rope with me.
Because I would say after that annihilation, I mean, because that's probably what they called it back then too. Because when I heard T talk about Leo, I loved. I mean, it was cool, but it's such a different time then than what it is now. But when he said, "Man, I don't want guys to quit. I want to retire them," they were ice cold killers. When it come to competing, and so like when you show up as a young kid and start putting a pretty big dent in their armor, that would get noticed pretty good. And then also I would say that you were amongst probably the top headers in the world. So I would say then probably your pick from the litter now on the head side is probably starting to get a little higher on the ranking as well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, for me, getting to rope with one of the famous Camarillo brothers, that was really cool to me. And poor Reg, because I'm just such a rookie, I learned how to rodeo from Reg the first year, and I think I retired him. And after our NFR, he retired and has had a great life ever since then. But poor guy, I mean, it was my first year and his last year, but he taught me so much about rodeo and everything, and being around Gerald and Leo and watching them and
Talk a
HP.
little bit about that for a healer, because that's one of the things that through my career was I enjoyed building a team. I enjoyed, because I headed good, but I wasn't those top guys like you're talking. The top guys are going to have their pick of the draft. I was kind of underneath that. So what I always did was I enjoyed finding the kids that I thought roped as good that just needed a chance. Because that's one of the hardest things I feel like on the heel side is you're having to pay some dues for the good guys to see you. And talk a little bit about that, because I've seen some of the healers that will just braid themselves so much on a shot that wasn't there. They're trying to make something happen, but the shot wasn't there. And so I could see how hard it is for a healer to get confidence out there if you don't have someone help them to set them up, let them get some confidence, even if they're not just knocking day monies out, but they're getting throws. They're being able to be seen. They're learning, what guys that they're studying. So talk a little bit about that too, on what I feel like what the importance would be on the heel side to be able to have that reg in a way for your first partner.
Well, I guess you'd say, and it's interesting that you're bringing that up, Charlie, because there's a lot of player coaching going on out there, especially early on. because like Reg was, a player and my teammate, but he was coaching on me. So he taught me a lot about roping, like being too conservative and taking too long to heel one or roping fast. And you might laugh at this, but yeah, it was kind of a cruel world. And there was no apologies. Like the Camarillos, they did not apologize for nothing. And same with Reg, even though Reg was a little bit kinder to me or whatever. But Reg basically, after the winter, just sat down with me and said, um, son, I mean, the Camarillos are famous for calling you son, I like you, enjoyed being around you for these last couple of months, but unless you learn how to heel faster overnight, I can't rope with you. I'm not fast. He goes, I run to the hip every time, and I'm not HP Evatt, so you can't just kick in and take 3 swings over them, and we can't win anything. So unless you learn how to heel overnight, well, guess what? I had Peggy put the rope on the chute, and she'd been putting the rope on the chute my whole time of getting better and better and better. So I would have Peggy just turn them as fast as she can out of the chute. And man, I can still remember just throwing it, whether I was ready or not. And I'm sure it was like total crap show if someone was watching, like, what the heck is he even throwing at? I was just forcing myself to throw fast, throw fast. I'll be doggone though, through that process, I started relaxing and seeing the run very clear. Like a lot of people don't realize it, but a 4-second run has 10 strides to it. So I started training myself to be able to see everything really clear through a really fast heel shot. And darned if I actually turn my roping around overnight, I'll become a really fast healer overnight because Reg Camarillo told me he was going to quit me if I didn't. Now, if I would have melted down and got my feelings hurt, I might not have ever went on and done anything. But man, thank God for Reg Camarillo to challenge me.
Well, he exposed a weakness, and then I think then is what kind of integrity do you have, or what kind of character do you have to where you're like, all right, I'm going to figure this out.
Yep.
Because when you talked about then learning how to do that, it's not like you go talk to Leo Camarillo. He's not going to tell you. Right. You had to watch him. You had to drive there and get beat enough to where you would watch him. Then, okay, now how do I emulate that in the practice pen? Because like that's where I remember one time Speedy told me one time, I remember I missed at a rodeo, and I'm like, I can't believe I missed because I had missed all week in the practice pen. And then I come to the rodeo and I missed. He goes, you didn't miss in the practice pen? None. So to me, it didn't sound like you're trying hard enough. Like, I didn't know what to think about that because that was a guy that wasn't scared to miss to learn how to find that shot. And a little bit like what you're talking about, learning to be okay with the miss because we're going to have to figure out how to find that shot.
Yes. Yeah. And ever since then, I've been challenging kids. It's like, yeah, if you're going to be a reacher, you can't be afraid of missing because you're not going to pull the trigger if you're scared to throw. Well, kind of take Caleb Driggers and go back in time. He somehow found his way to our place and hung out with Joel and roped with us at my place in Millsap. And when I first saw him, I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, he would just pull the trigger every time. And he didn't catch all of them either, I promise you. But one thing, I started watching him over and over. I just thought, man, I have respect for Caleb because even though a lot of people is like, well, if you take one more swing or ride your horse one more stride, I mean, your consistency would go through the roof. But then in watching him, it's like, this young man is figuring this out, and he's going to figure this really hard shot out, and he's going to do it and then raise his consistency. And I actually got to watch in real time over the years him be one of the most consistent fast ropers I've ever seen. And now what used to be a dumb shot to us, a low percentage, 30%, kind of like what I think about Caleb Driggers and guys like that, I compare him to Steph Curry's. Because you remember like a basketball game before Steph Curry, about 25% would be a great odds for shooting a three-pointer. Well, guess what? He raised the bar. And now a lot of people have raised the bar shooting three-pointers, and now it's like double that, like 60. And that's what I've saw some of the headers doing that evolved the most, is they just keep practicing that fast shot, not afraid to miss, until by gosh, they can catch 8 out of 10 or so as fast as anybody can imagine catching.
A lot like what you were doing, I feel like, on the heel side, being
Yeah.
able to expose it and go at it, because that's what's so admirable, I feel like, for back then, what you guys did, because there wasn't the technology. It was work ethic. You had to run the steers to do it. We didn't have the machines. We didn't have the four-wheelers. There were so many things you had to do, rep after rep after rep, and like, okay, that one hit the dirt. How do I adjust it? You can't watch it. You had to find it in your head. And so there was so much to that, what you guys had kind of got us to where we're at now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And back then, to be as fast as you can without missing, you don't have to be that fast back then. So I think a lot like, say, Rich, Clay, myself, Walt Woodard, we had I guess you'd say, the luxury of being able to take an extra swing or two and just make sure we caught everyone by 2 feet. Well, nowadays, you don't quite have that luxury. You got to rope quite a bit faster. I mean, you're still trying to be as fast as you can without missing, but we had a big luxury back then. And I can remember, it was really funny. I don't know if a lot of people remember this, but one of Clay's last years at the NFR and in roping, did you remember the change in his career? Like, him and I have been like best friends all our life, and he tells me, like, on his last year, he goes, Al, I'm going to change my roping. I'm like, the best guy of all time? Why would you ever change your heeling? I'm like, seriously, Clay. He goes, well, I'm going to be more like you. I'm going to stay away from the corner. And the way these kids are nowadays, Jade Corkle and all of them, I mean, they're heeling these steers as fast as you possibly can. And with you and me, we wait for that perfect shot. But nowadays, it can't be perfect. It's got to be like just halfway okay is what they're still roping on a high consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, gosh, whatever. But I just can't imagine you changing. Darned if Clay Cooper don't go home, work and work and work on it, holds his spacing in his pocket longer instead of getting tight like he always did. He perfected the getting tight roping to where everybody wanted to copy it because he's so doggone good. But when he sped it up there on that last year, I just think that's one of the coolest evolutions I've ever seen anybody at his age changing his whole style and his mindset, and then watching him at the George Strait roping and at the NFR. I thought he out-roped everybody. And I think he would have won the world. I don't remember exactly what happened, but it wasn't his fault.
He was coming around there. He was right there close.
Oh my gosh, he's just coming around there, just bam, right there every time. And I was just sitting there in amazement of this guy that I'd roped against all my life.
Hi, I'm Trevor Brazil. My name is Corey Kuntz. Hi, I'm Gino Nogueira.
I'm Luke Brown.
Hi, I'm Tyler Wade.
I'm Caleb Driggers.
Miles Baker.
Wesley Thorpe.
Paul Leaves.
Patrick Smith.
We ask so much out of our horses that recovery is crucial, and that's why I use Equinity. I've been doing this a long time. What I have in common with these ropers is we all trust Equinity.
I feed Equinity because I want to give my horses any edge.
My horse.
My horse. My horse.
My horse.
All my horses have the Equinity edge.
And
Talk a little bit about different personalities, because when how you kind of went about it, and then because everyone's different, everyone's wired different, everyone sees little things a little bit different. We talked about Ricky Green, we talked about some of the intense competitors back in the day, but when we talk about Clay Cooper, his technique was impeccable. I always thought his ability to ride, his ability to see things, but the focus that he had was one of the things that I always just totally admired. He seemed like a guy kind of in a spot where his focus might have been maybe one of the strongest that I'd seen. So talk a little bit about kind of what you've seen as you hung around and competed against him and with him and being in the rig with him. Talk a little bit about what you've seen on how his ability was to focus so good.
well, all these top competitors, the ones that if you're not careful, the ones you're jealous about are the ones that got these bullseye on their chests and you're jealous of. I had to deal with my jealousy of Clay Cooper early on in my life and just get over it. And I actually honestly prayed that I would not be there silently wishing for him to rope a leg when he could beat me at some roping or something, because he was my friend. Once I got over that, like, he actually become one of the guys that helped me the most, because you have your riding, you have your mental game, and you have your roping game. And with him, his mental game helped me more than ever. He challenged me because he had ultra focus. What do I mean by that? Like me, I'm that guy that can multitask and think of 3 or 4 things while I'm driving, or I could be, talking on the cell phone, drinking a soda, and still listening to music while I'm trying to drive. And Clay would make fun of me sometimes. He goes, I'll be doggone. He goes, all I can think about when I'm driving is driving. He goes, you're thinking about all kinds of other stuff and talking about a million different things. And I'm like, man, I guess that's just the way I am or whatever. But yeah, everybody's so different. But his ultra focus, when he was in the healing box, it was just about doing the same thing. You couldn't get him off his game. I don't care if it's Corey Pesca that could challenge all of us by healing one on the first jump or in the switch and just kind of setting the tone for the roping. You're not going to pull Clay Cooper offside. It's like, all right, kind of like he wasn't jealous. It's like, oh, way to go, Corey Pesca, in his mind. I'm still going to do my deal. Just because you did that doesn't mean that you're going to pull me into trying to do that, because that's not my deal. I'm still going to rope as fast as I can without missing. So you just couldn't pull Clay off his game, and I always admired him. Now me, you could kind of pull me off. If I seen Dennis Gates or Corey Pesca heal one fast, I might just crawl out there and try to heal one in the switch myself just to prove that I could do it. But I also might rope a leg. So Clay was always that guy, no mistakes, no mistakes, no mistakes. He was the guy that I hardly ever saw him beat himself. Walt Woodard was another one. Ritz Skelton. You hardly ever see them guys beat themselves. That's why their longevity in healing was like amazing.
The mega match popped up on social media the last couple weeks, and I wore that tape out. That was some of the funnest watching, where the different scores, the different kind of cattle, and I was such a Bobby Hurley fan, always a Jake Barnes fan. But man, we would watch those runs and watch them, and then being tied at 29, like that was unbelievable. But then you watched the focus that Clay had through that, and it was a marathon. It looked like a marathon, and then the guy just never did. No matter what the steer was doing, he was ahead of it. It was almost like there was not a hop that you could show Clay Cooper that he hasn't seen, and he learned how to master.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny because no one knew this, but and I did get a lot of compliments that, and I'm sure Jake, Clay, and Bobby did as well, that it was one of the greatest educational teaching tapes of all time. But we didn't do no teaching. We were just roping. But they had cameras north, south, east, and west in the arena, and they'd always have the real-time run, and then a slow motion on the opposite side. Might be north and south or east and west, but it was really cool because you saw all kinds of different views of all these shots that we were making. But I remember he would read. It was smart. He interviewed us after every 10. All right, here you are in the roping. What are you thinking right now? Whether it be Jake, Bobby, Alan, Clay. It was always make me laugh about Clay. He would, all right, Clay, you've roped everyone by 2 feet. What are you thinking about in the next 10? And I'd watch Clay do his classic shrug his shoulders. I don't know. I'll just keep catching every steer one steer at a time by 2 feet. I mean, he just had this simple. He kept it simple. And he's proof that if you don't overcomplicate things, you can execute better. And oh my gosh, I mean, he was such a challenge to my mental game to be more like him, more patient, more disciplined with shots. Don't beat myself, and know that if I don't beat me, it's going to be hard for everybody else to beat me. But most people beat themselves so much that by the time you get to the short go, I remember one time, you might think this is funny, but this guy was like really mad that I was at the roping, and he'd already put himself out of the roping, taking dumb shots, and he's just like, oh, I hope you feel good coming here and taking all of our guys' money, and I'm like, well, you know what? I mean, the honest truth is, I didn't beat you, sir. You beat yourself, because I didn't see you in the short go. I mean, the only guys that was in the short go, yeah, I might have beat them in the end, but you had already beat yourself before I ever got to you. And I don't know if that guy ever went away and it made any sense to him, but
a lot to that.
Hopefully somebody listening, it does make sense to them. Like, you're the, you got to be your own best friend and not be beating yourself all the time. And roping as fast as you can without missing has to mean something to you.
Well, you talk about coming from California and starting to get some of those headers and starting to talk a little about when you first started rodeoing a little bit, because when you won the world in '79, who were you roping with? You're still down in California.
Yep.
Talk a little about how you kind of started building your career as you were kind of starting to get some momentum.
Well, yeah, like Jesse James was the guy. He was kind of like a best friend, a mentor. I looked up to him. Taught me a lot about riding. Like I would actually go up on the ranch and ride a little bit with him, and he influenced me in a good and a bad way. He's the guy that got me standing up in the saddle and riding with my knees. Kind of told me that a real cowboy don't sit on his butt. So he had me standing up in the saddle and my butt was in the air. And so I was just all over the place, when we're going really fast. You can't be standing way up off your seat of your saddle. But he also taught me a lot of cool things. And he was just a master at handling cattle so good. So it was a perfect guy for me to rope with because I knew where them feet was going to be at all times. He never surprised me with a bad
He always
handle.
had a running head horse too.
Oh Lord, yeah.
And always spun him. Guy never missed.
I don't know if you remember, but he was that one guy that hardly ever had a tie down. Kind of, he never had a tie down on his horse because he had such good left hand. So he was able to manage that headset without pulling their head up. He could rope and do everything he needed to do without jerking that horse's head up in the air and having him lose his headset. So it was kind of amazing watching him handle them steers so good with no tie down on. So yeah, he was a really cool guy. And at the NFR, it was like I couldn't have had a better partner, to set them steers up. And yeah, that kind of changed my identity really. Like Riverside
this
was
is kind of the second step of your change in identity.
Riverside being kind of the first one where I kind of saw myself as being able to do it. And then there with Jesse James setting them up and me being able to heel them all and winning the average that year in '79 and then winning the world, it's like, wow, my identity changed. And because of that, I really believe the Lord blessed me that now I could do roping schools. And that was my way of like years with shoeing. Mine was teaching roping schools because, yeah, as you know, back then it didn't pay much. And it's always been hard to make a living roping, but you always have to have that other
supplemental
thing.
Income.
It's not really a plan B. It's just there's enough time.
You got to have enough irons in the fire. So if one isn't hitting, something else is, so you can stay going down the road.
Absolutely. I look at it as a wheel. Like a roper's got that you can't just have one spoke of the wheel, like winning. You got to have sponsors. You got to have roping schools or shoeing horses.
Well, because back in '79, that was probably your only other option to make money because there was no sponsors, correct? And I don't even know if you were even allowed to have sponsors on your shirt.
No daddy, no sponsors. It was just me and Peggy.
Yeah.
So amazingly, I started doing roping schools. You probably laugh at this, but I went to British Columbia where, because I was a world champion, they actually would give me a chance to do a roping school.
Because that was kind of your resume.
Yeah.
When you're a world champion, okay, now this guy knows what he's talking about. So there's going to be some opportunities now with that world buckle that, okay, now it's going to create some work to be able to go do clinics. Is that kind of what you mean by that?
Absolutely. And I did, believe it or not, 13 years in a row at Butch Sahara's house in Kamloops, British Columbia. I mean, I love that man. He was like a John Wayne to me. He's like one of the best cowboys I ever met. And he always had a bunch of fresh muleys. And so I'd go up there every time right on my birthday, April 30th. Snow, rain, all kind of wind. I mean, it was like really bad weather. But I just kept going back. And the very first year, I only was able to get $250 for 3-day school. I don't even know what he charged the students, but then I made a pact with myself. I'm going to raise my roping school every year by $250. So next year I made $500. Third year I made $750. The fourth year $1,000, and I just kept doing that until I got up to $4,000 because I've done 40 years of roping schools now. Of course, I kind of leveled out at that 4,000 mark for a 2-day school, but it was amazing looking back and saying, gosh, would I do a roping school now for 3 days for $250? But also the cost of living was a lot less. I think cost us about $2,000 a year or $2,000 a month to make a living. And now, as you know, don't we wish?
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about too when you were doing some of the clinics, some of the guys you were bringing with the clinics, because I still love Ricky Green stories. They're some of my favorite ones, man. The guy was just so full of life. He was one of the guys I really wished I could have on the podcast between him and Leo. But talk a little bit about some of the clinics you've gotten to do where Ricky was helping you.
Oh, yeah. I was kind of like, his deal in life was just to make people feel good about themselves, encourage people, and just make them laugh. And Jake and Clay and we're all four of us were buddies back in that day, and later on Jimmy Cooper and that. And but we always admired him because we were also serious about what we were doing, and he was able to just bring humor and laughter into everything. And oh my gosh, some of the roping schools. I mean, he one time in Alabama, we're doing a roping school, and this obviously, hopefully this guy's listening to this right now, but hopefully I don't make any offense, but he was like, I'm over there teaching the healers, he's teaching the headers, and he goes, hey, Big Al, come over here. I got to show you this guy's swing. So I go over there, and this guy's overalls on, and he's swinging his rope, but he's swinging his butt at the same time. And Ricky's
Rhythm.
like,
that laugh of his.
yeah, and I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, that guy's going to hear you laughing. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, I had to walk away because he got me laughing. This guy's swinging his butt, trying to swing his rope.
In rhythm.
He goes, dude, he's got the weirdest swing I've ever seen. Watch this. So he was always doing that to me, and it was so fun. I was a serious guy. I brought all the, good fundamentals, good information, and he was like good cop, bad cop.
Yep.
Only I was the boring cop. He was the funny cop. And
Well, talk about when you guys went to Canada and you were trying to tell him where to turn the steer. Like that one's still one of my favorite ones because it brings the laugh in there.
Oh yeah, because you want people to respect you. So eventually they want to see you rope, right? We don't have our own good horses. So as you know, you got to get on a student's horse, and you try to pick the best heel horse and best head horse to demonstrate, so you don't look too stupid when you're. Because we know what we're doing, but can we show them what we're doing?
Yeah.
So, and Ricky and I really were both healers, but we're doing these schools together. And so Ricky's going to head for me, and he gets on this guy's stud, and it's a real nice horse and all that. But so his idea is like, he's just going to come over the chute and stick one to be 4 flat. And then I'm riding kind of a green horse that was pretty nice, but run by the corner, and I just felt like a dork out there, and he made me look stupid. So coming back, I'm like, hey, dude, it's like, could you just let him out a little bit further? Because Ricky's a little bit, hard-headed, I guess you say. Like, I was very hard-headed. But he's like, oh, yeah, I'll let him out. So I didn't know what was coming. So he gives him a chow-chow to start, like a 35-foot. And we're in this little short Quonset
Probably 200 foot long indoor arena.
70 foot wide. So he lets him out a mile too far, bombs out, catches him at the very end of the arena, ducks off. Oh my gosh, it was a wreck.
I remember you telling me as you come in to heel the steer just wallering and bellowing, and all you could hear was.
Oh, he was not afraid to laugh at me right in front of everybody. Yeah.
I love it. Well, which world title was it? And I forget the ice sculpture, I think. That one was clean enough to tell, wasn't it? I can't remember. I just remembered he was just always doing just funny stuff.
Oh my
but I
gosh.
couldn't remember what he did on that one.
Well, there's the before Jesus time of your life and after. Well, I knew Ricky both ways. And, he's really funny because you remember Frontier Airlines when they were the sponsor. Well, they threw this big banquet and everything. I believe maybe Uncle Walt, because Walt was his uncle. So we were both at this banquet, me and Ricky, and I think Walt had won the world, and Ricky was being there to support Uncle Walt. So I think Larry Mahan's there, and they're all there, and but all the executives of Frontier Airlines. So we got this big buffet. So Ricky is like, I'm telling you, had about 10 too many beers. You hear about one too many. I think he had like 10 too many, and so he's just barely navigating, and this guy with this fancy suits in front of him. So he's going along, and he sees these meatballs, and he reaches down in this gravy, gets him a meatball, takes a bite out of it, puts the meatball back back in there. I'm behind him. I'm like, oh Lord, please, Ricky, don't do this. And he takes his hand and he wipes he he wipes the gravy on this executive's back. And the guy turns around and shakes hands with him. It's like, oh, I'm Ricky Green. Nice to meet you. The guy didn't even know that he'd wiped gravy on his back. Well, then later on, Ricky goes, hey, Big Al, watch this. So he goes, jumps up on the table, and there's a ice sculpture of a Frontier, a 747 up there.
That's what it was. It was an airplane.
Yeah, so he gets up on the airplane, the ice sculpture on the same table that he just got done eating that meatball. And then he takes his hat and he's just fanning this, yeehaw, just, and Larry Mahan sees him. And I think Larry Mahan was the one that putting the party on. So Larry politely comes over there and he goes, hey, Rick, I've had my share of beer myself, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave. So he ushered me and Ricky out of the room, and
that was funny.
so we didn't get to see the rest of it. I'll never forget that, though.
That one was a good one. That was yeah, that was before, because I mean, you think about when the culture kind of started, what I remembered was a loving, drinking, fighting cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then that guy's loving part was loving to have a good time. Like
Right.
he loved having a good time from every story I always heard.
Oh, yeah.
It was so much fun to hear a lot of the Ricky stories.
Oh, yeah, and you couldn't tell him that he couldn't crossfire all 5 in a row, because I've seen him at ropings. That he's the one that kind of, well, actually, your dad and him, kind of interesting. I'm sitting right in front of the son of the guy. Your dad was one of the first ones we ever seen crossfire. I mean, he was really, really good at it, and so Ricky became even better at maybe at crossfiring. I mean, Chowchilla going full blast down the arena, he would throw right in the switch, and he might catch 4 in a row, be a mile in the lead. And me and Walt Woodard trying to talk some sense into him. Hey, Rick, you're in the lead. Just go ahead and catch this last one. He goes, oh, yeah, I think I will. So he just comes around the last one. He crossfires the last one just to prove to me and Walt that he could do it. And probably miss.
Well, because back then the crossfire, because I remember my dad, as soon as they would rope, as soon as the rope went on, my dad would cut in and
Yeah.
take to him.
You could rope him going down the arena.
Yeah, it
And I
was,
know
a different crossfire than what we're talking about now.
Right. Yeah, the crossfire rule kind of,
It's evolved for sure.
it's
now.
evolved from just roping them going straight down the
Mhm.
arena about the same time as the header's throwing, I'm throwing kind of deal, into the switch, and then halfway through the switch until now it's the first hop.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's kind of changed, and I know some people now kind of think, well, why in the world leave it up to the judges? Why not both guys rope as fast as you can? And as you know, that would be a crap. That'd be a crap show.
100%.
Well, that takes out then the art of handling the
100%.
steer and all that. So,
But yeah, Ricky was notorious for
Oh, yeah.
being that guy, wasn't
Yeah.
he, in the crossfire.
and do it classy. He had a horse called Cowboy,
Mm.
big, pretty black horse, and he'd just pull his arm back and he could no swing and crossbar him. He could one swing and crossbar him, or he could swing 5 times and crossbar him. But I think the coolest, classiest thing about Ricky is when he just folded over his back and just come with it, not just no swing him and crossbar. Like crazy, the shots he could pull off.
We'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you guys have pulled off, because I forget exactly what NFR it was with you and Bob Hurley. I think he was riding Spiff. Was it the 95 world title that you guys won the last 5 go-rounds?
93.
93.
Yeah.
And you came from, I believe, 15th and won the world or something like. There was one time you came from 15th, I thought, and won the world.
That was in 90 with Joel Gellerman.
Okay.
Joel
But
was
this one was the last 5 rounds.
yeah.
Talk about that, because that's something that you think about, that momentum. And that was one of the things. It's kind of like the mega match was one of those things we'll never forget. But with a heater, you guys got on, you and Bobby Hurley winning the last 5 rounds. That was iconic.
Well, yeah. And to me, it was like the credit is 70% him and 30% me, if I had to be really honest. But because Spiff, as you know, he's a horse that he'd stick his
Love
tongue
that
out.
horse. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And he's just so powerful and so fast off the back of the box. And Bobby, he could just he's the only guy I know that could just hang on the saddle horn and still hanging on one to be 3 or 4 kind of a deal. But That was during the year before they changed the rule, where like two individuals, like it was just one champion at that time. So because we both had roped with different guys at the very start, only for a little while, but he had $1,000 more than me. So I mean, I pretty much knew I couldn't win the world, but so my job was to help him win the world. So yeah, they're about the sixth go around. I mean, we get on this heater, like you say, and Bobby just hanging it on everyone, and I'm making sure I catch 2 feet and just win. And even us, we're like, kind of like, I remember when we got to about the third go round, like, no way, there's no way we could win four. And then when we were four, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is a dream come true.
10th round.
And then, but of all things, we have to win the round for him to win the world. So we had to win 5 in a row, and it's like, oh Lord.
It was one of those moments in roping that you'll never forget because
No.
it was it was iconic.
This is a funny story that no one will ever know. Well, I mean, now everybody will know, but it was I didn't want to make fun of Bobby's. He was a little bit, you know how like, what's the word when you believe in not throwing a hat on the bed?
Superstition.
He was superstitious about $50 bills. Well, earlier on in the week, about the fourth go around, I think I had to go down to the casino and cash a check or whatever. So they give me nothing but $50 bills. So the minute I had them on my wallet, I know I had about 10 of them or something in my wallet. And I'm just kind of like, well, I know Bobby don't want me to have these $50 bills, and maybe I ought to get rid of them. But then by then my faith was pretty strong, and I'm like, no, I don't believe in superstition. I believe in the Lord. So I leave the $50 bills in my pocket. So after that fifth go round, when we win the last go round, win the world, we go out, we go outside, and Bobby gives me a hug. I give him a hug, and I couldn't help it. I couldn't wait. I took my wallet out, and I'm like, look what I got in my wallet. And he about wet his pants. He goes, oh, Big Al, how could you?
How would you do that?
I'm like, I just wanted to prove you $50 bills aren't bad luck.
I shot horses for $50 and I didn't care. I needed money. I never understood the $50 bill thing. And that one,
I didn't
I've
either.
never been superstition. That one I never got, but that is a thing.
Yeah, it used to be a thing. Don't walk under ladders. Don't throw your hat on the bed. All the black cat goes in front of you. You stop and go way back around the neighborhood. That I
I've
never.
never been in a hurry to a rodeo.
Or number 13. I mean, some people won't get on a plane and sit in.
That's funny. Yeah,
13 was
I'm
my
unaware
favorite
of any
number.
of it. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's whatever you want to believe in.
Yeah.
I believe that 13 was my favorite number in school, and sure enough, 13 was always a good number for me. It's just whatever you believe in.
But yeah, that one was one of the iconic moments I remember in team roping. But one of the things that I remembered so much too was when this is now, and I'm kind of starting to buy my card and get at the rodeos, and I'm still growing up from my dad's the loving, drinking, fighting cowboy era. And, I'd gotten my card and started going to some rodeos, and what I had noticed about you and Clay, Jake Barnes, and Corey Kuntz and Dan Green, and what I realized, what you guys were shifting the culture. You guys were starting to bring Jesus into the rodeo world that was kind of corrupted by having a good time, because it was one of the, it's hard to make a living. So it's kind of like, we ain't going to be doing this for a long time. We're going to be having a good time kind of thing. And then it seemed like they were starting to become a business side of it, from Leo to what you guys were doing, Clay and all, and a lot of those guys are starting to make a living doing it. But what I admired so much was what you guys were changing the culture, bringing faith now into rodeo with Forever Cowboys and the things that you were doing. What year did that kind of start? I forgot.
Well, for me, it started pretty early, because when I first started roping with Jake Barnes, actually I was the one that invited Jake into the PRCA. He was staying down in Llano with Popeye Boldenhouse at the time, and where Rich and T was from, and I called him up, and he couldn't believe that I had just won the world, so he couldn't believe I was calling him. But it started even back then, and Peggy and I was already, going to church and everything and working on our faith. So I actually started helping Jake with his faith, and then Clay Cooper came into our life, and same with Clay, and then Ricky. I actually got to go into our pastor's house and get down, and so I actually got to watch Ricky accept Jesus into his heart and decide to, follow after the Lord. So I was there with him when he did that early on. So you can imagine how that made me feel, knowing that Ricky went on to be with the Lord, because all of us have that in common. Every knee will bow, every tongue will confess, whether it's early or later on, but that time's coming for everybody. And I think when you have eternal perspective in your life, you're looking for them opportunities to just share your faith with people, and you try to do it in a way that you don't run them off, but yet show them that, hey, I'll drive more than you, I'll clean out the trailer more than you. I just want you to respect me, and eventually, when they respect you, but doing your part and more, then they might listen to a little bit. So, like Daniel Green, he when I first started writing with Daniel, my Bible's on the dash, and just out of nowhere, he started picking it up, and he read in Revelation, which is about the scariest thing for most people. It's really more of a preparation. It's not to scare us, but prepare us for what's coming. And Daniel, I watched Daniel lead his whole entire family to the Lord in 6 months, just out of his love of his heart. Like, Dad, did you read that Bible yet? I sent you that Bible for a reason. I do not want to go to heaven without you. Mom, did you read the Bible? His sister, his brother-in-law. I mean, I swear, and I've never seen anybody that. I mean, he really thought, because of Revelation, any day, tomorrow might be the day. So he had to rescue his family. And it was so cool to get to be teamed up with guys like that. Daniel Green is a hero of faith to me, just for what he did with his family and everything.
Well, you talk about bearing witness, and where the top guys in the world were starting to change their lives and change the culture, which was what you guys were a big part of. And for me, it was, man, the crowd I was hanging out with, man, we were at the rodeo to kind of figure out where we're heading after the rodeo, and and what I had started noticing was, what I kept thinking of a good time was a short time. And the crowd that I was kind of in also, I also noticed that your guys' crowd, the conversations were different. And the ability that you guys had fun was a different kind of fun. And what I started getting pulled more towards you guys as my roping was starting to evolve, and you guys were letting me in the rig. And, I remember driving from Oakdale to Logandale with Jake Barnes and just having biblical conversations the whole time. And neither one of us got tired. And what I noticed about you guys was there was something different about you guys. And when I got the opportunity to rope with you, and what I mean by different was the conversations were different, the joy, there was joy there. And I think there's such a huge difference between being happy and joy. Like, you guys were joyful.
Absolutely.
You weren't looking for something to make you happy. You guys had found that. And what I had noticed is, like, how do I get like that? Like how do I become that? Because my happiness was always short term. It was, whatever thing was exciting at the time. It might even just been winning. When I'm winning, oh, finally, then I'm happy. Well, then I'll lose again the next day. So it's just up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And you guys were just solid. And there was so much to just I would say the examples that you guys were setting, that it really did change a lot of the culture.
Well, I hope this, again, helps somebody out there, but, in a sense, don't we all kind of want to be a rebel? I mean, it's in our human nature.
It's human nature.
Because I was
in the flesh.
People don't realize this, but I had 4 brothers that were very tough. I mean, they really were, as far as back in the day. I mean, no one messed with them in the bars or anything like that. There's very, very tough guys. But even at home, lots of fighting, lots of F-bombs, lots of, it was very, I thought that was functional way of living until God introduced me to Peggy and her mom and dad. And I realized that Sunday dinner, what I was used to, isn't the same Sunday dinner that where I'm met with a hug. I'd never been hugged, I don't think, hardly ever before. And Peggy's mom would just hug on me all the time and love on me. And she took me in like I was her own son kind of a deal. So anyway, I think the whole rebel without a cause and the rebel with a cause thing, it would maybe challenge somebody or motivate somebody. To be a rebel without a cause, like, yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to get drunk, fight, play pool, have fun with my buddies. And in a sense, socializing is not a bad thing at all, but that hangover, it doesn't feel good. And it's definitely not going to bless your career to be drunk all the time and have hangovers and make bad decisions. And so, yeah, sin has its season and it's fun for a while, but then you realize, the end of that is not good.
Yeah.
So I decided to be a rebel with a cause. And what I mean by that is a lot of people didn't like me. As you know, not a lot of people will admit this, but I'm not the most liked person. Really am not. I mean, if I wanted to be the most popular guy out there, I would have took a whole different road, because who doesn't like to be liked? We all want to have a lot of friends, but sometimes when you're trying to follow the Lord, that's being a rebel with a cause. Like, I don't mind sacrificing certain friendships, and people that don't understand me, don't really understand what my life's about. If they don't like me, never even meeting me before, hey, that's on them, but I don't care. I'll go ahead and be a rebel without a cause. But I just seen so many people in the road, especially the rodeo business, trying to be political and diplomatic and popular, and I've never seen that really get anybody very far at all. But yeah, you can climb the political ladder and you can go rub up to rich people all you want, to get them to be your sponsor and all that. But I just never was a political type guy. I always wanted to allow God to bless me, and the Lord can open doors that no rich guy could ever do. I don't care. You might think you have a circle of rich guys that are going to take care of you, but they can't compare to what God can do. I've had him open doors of opportunities in real estate deals and business deals, like Cactus Ropes. Jack Stevenson was a Christian friend of mine, and they called him Cactus Jack, and that's how the rope company got its name. Because of my faith, he gave me 20% of that company to help build that company. So I got in there, rolled up my sleeves, and built that company, but it brought some real financial blessings, more than any rich guy could have ever done. And then he just kept opening doors, but he also shuts the right doors for you. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. We need to have help opening the right doors, but shutting the other doors. And I learned that from Clay Cooper. In his mind, he calls it in and by, like good thoughts, bad thoughts, just kind of like short.
Kind of like setting the herd.
Yeah, like sorting cattle.
Sorting cattle.
Everybody knows, like, oh, we want the bad ones by, the in ones, we want to let the in ones in. We're going to keep roping these. We're going to cut the draggers out. And he goes, your thoughts are the same way, and even relationships in your life. I mean, I want to let, and God will kind of help you, tap you on the shoulder in his quiet way. Hey, this is a good relationship. I'm going to open the door to this one, but I'm going to shut the door to this relationship. And he's done that for me all my life, and it's been awesome, starting with my wife, Peggy. And here she is. I still have Jesus in my corner, and I still have her in my corner after 50 years. And I just hope it motivates someone to take this seriously.
This episode is brought to you by Ryan Studdard with Oakan Ash Realty. Ryan, the broker and owner of Oakan Ash Realty, is someone who understands the land, lifestyle, and the work that goes into it. Whether you're looking for acreage to run horses and cattle, a place with room for an arena, or a home that fits your family just right, Ryan has the experience to help you find that perfect property that fits your needs. If you're looking to sell and want an experienced broker that understands the nuances of farm and ranch properties, Ryan has that track record. From ranch land and ranchettes to residential and investment properties across North Texas, Ryan knows what matters. I've had the experience of working with Ryan multiple times over the last few years, and I can attest firsthand to his knowledge and experience. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or just want a straight answer about land or real estate, give Ryan Studdard a call at 817-683-9505 or check him out at oakanashrealty.com.
Well, I think too we talked earlier on the phone last week, but the to be cool rodeoing was there was a lot of strive for it. You know, for me, the better I did, then the more girls are going to notice you. The better you did, there's a chance for sponsorships. The better you did, the more you're going to be popular. So the goal for so many guys was to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about cool was there was so much fine print underneath of it, that what are you sacrificing to be cool? But no one reads the fine print.
Exactly.
And that's where I think what you guys started doing was, it wasn't the coolness then, but now when you look at it, how many kids now are, every time they would win something, talking about giving the glory to Jesus, and you're seeing so many people now that the culture shifted from the unpopular kind of place where you guys had to shift it to where it's at now, where now it's helped so many people. It's helped so many people in our industry. It's helped shift that culture change in our industry, which is so great. And I think that's one of the reasons why you still see rodeo as one of the more attractive sports now, to where we didn't lose that. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that we still pray and give the glory to God in this industry, to where he's still blessing it.
Absolutely. I think we obviously have the best sport of all the sports, football, basketball, baseball, because we're the only ones that can say all the bad things that happen in all the other sports. I mean, we've kind of been living in a glass bubble, but because of faith. Because most cowboys really are. They're Bible believing, God fearing. I mean, everybody has different levels of faith, but most cowboys have at least a level of faith that they will honor the Lord when someone's praying before the rodeo or whatever, and the flag that comes right with it. I believe honoring God actually turns into honoring country, God and country, not country and God, but God and country. Yep. And just look at the sacrifices and the example. Jesus sacrificed, God the Father sacrificed for us. Jesus sacrificed, and then you got all these amazing military guys that are sacrificing for our freedom, sacrificing for, I mean, you see the connection there. Hopefully everybody sees that. The police sacrifice, and even now that half the world's kind of against ICE, and they're just doing what they're told, and they're trying to do the best they can to serve their country, and they're sacrificing, like firefighters, policemen, nurses, doctors. I mean, there's a lot of people that sacrifice for the betterment of our country and for people. And I just, my wife has the greatest little deal. It's like, someday I'm going to do this. I'm going to get a cap that has a plus on the front of it, and then underneath it, put giver. But then on the back of it, I was going to put a minus and a taker. And it's just like, she's really challenged our kids to be like, when people see you coming up, they're either going to see one of the two things on your forehead. They're going to see a plus or a minus. Mm-hmm. You're there to add value to that environment, or you're there to take whatever you can get from that environment. Are you a giver or a taker? And I just thought, well, and to be honest with you, have I always had my cap on straight? Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yeah, mm-hmm. It was all about Alan, get as much as Alan could get, climb over everybody I possibly could to get to the success that I wanted to for whatever situation. But then eventually, I started turning my hat around, and I realized that, no, I want to be more of a blessing.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Bible is true. It's more blessed to give than receive, and he will bless you for that. We are blessed to be a blessing. When the takers in life, they're really never, if you watch their lives, they're never really blessed that much. But the givers in life, just like the military and everything, I mean, I honor you, I want to help you more. And I apologize for not being a part of the military thing that you do. But from here on out, I'm here on the air saying I will volunteer time to come help them guys with the roping, and I just think that's awesome that you honor them guys, and that's a big plus on your forehead as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I appreciate that. One of the things that I remembered so much too throughout my career was a pivotal time where the opportunity that I had to rope with you. And I remember you helped me so much understanding, and I think probably with what I remembered was Galatians, when we talked about the fruit of the Spirit and we talked about the sinful nature. That was such a pivotal moment for me. And I think we were driving, I think from Weatherford, from your house to, I think we were going up to Garden City, Kansas, I believe. And good and bad to me all still had the same jersey. That's kind of where I was at in my faith. I knew there was a God, but that was it. I was so confused on where I was at. I grew up in such a sinful home, with my dad and drinking and fighting and women. And, there was just such a confusion, for me, what's good and what's bad. My dad was respectful. If you were his friend, you were his friend, so respect among men was one thing he had. But then how to live your life where there was joy and not just happiness and misery and stuff like that I was trying to figure it out on my own. And I remember when we were driving up there, you were the first one to knock a lot of the myth, I think, out. And you helped me probably the most with identifying the things that I was blaming God for, because the devil's such a great marketer.
Mm-hmm.
There's times I thought God was mad at me because I did this, or I thought God was punishing me because of this, because my earthly father, everything was a punishment. You don't do this right, it's a punishment. So thinking that like anything that bad happened to me was God's fault. And you were like, whoa, 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 that's the devil. Like, don't let that sly sucker right there get you to believe that came from God. And you were the first guy to help me understand the different colored jerseys. And a lot of that had to do with the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians, when you were telling me about joy and peace and happiness, forgiveness, soft-hearted, everything that it says there. And when I was around you guys, that's what I saw. When I was around you and Clay and Jake, like that's what I saw. And my relationships were still in the sinful nature, lust, drunkenness, greed, bitterness, anger, like that was my life. And those were things that are enrooted, from such a small age that have been so hard to be able to, it's kind of like the two wolves they talk about,
Right.
And I mean, the old guy talked about this young kid that says, everyone's got two wolves inside of him. And the young boy asked, well, what kind of wolves? What do you mean? And he said, well, one wolf on one side of the shoulder is joy, peace, happiness, and forgiveness and love. And the other wolf is anger, bitterness, jealousy, deceit, all those things. And he goes, well, which wolf wins? He goes, whichever one you feed.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things where you helped me identify who was wearing what colored jersey. That was a big pivot for me, because you did such a good job back then of being able, I could see what you said. There's something to being able to articulate the Bible and articulate things where you can see it to where there's a light bulb.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest light bulbs for me.
In roping, why do any drill like roping a roping dummy if it doesn't apply to the real run? And I just think the same thing is like we have to be able to apply all these things, life application things. And this is a funny thing I just want to share with you, but the reason I knew that and was confident in that is, like I said, I took certain scriptures, ownership of them, and I challenge you, people that are listening, to do that. I mean, there's so many amazing scriptures in the Bible, but pick one and make it yours. But one of them that I did was John 10:10, and I would put scriptures on my saddle horn. And this sounds so funny or dorky to some people, but God can multiply your time if you let him. Like I just thought to myself, I spend so much time going up and down this arena. So I just thought I can work on my rope and going down the arena, but on the way back, I got all this spare time. And I know that sounds funny, but so I started putting scriptures on my saddle horn. So I started memorizing scriptures on the way back to the box. And it might be the same scripture for a week.
Dividing your time.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, I was managing my time.
Manager.
But I was investing into my life. So then, like for one of the scriptures that applies to what you were just saying in that story was that John 10:10 says that the enemy comes not but to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus came to give life and life more abundantly. So if you take ownership of that and someone asks why a bad thing happened, who are you going to blame, God or the enemy? Well, it's obvious. We know because we've already been meditating on it, memorized it. Well, the enemy is responsible for everything bad that ever happens, and God is responsible for everything good in our lives. So, man, it was just cool when I was able to draw that line in the sand. So from then on, I never doubted God about, well, why didn't I get this? Why didn't I get this? Why didn't I get that? All my like problems in life was either from my bad decisions or the enemy, but it was never from God, because God wants the best. Just like us as fathers, we want the best for our kids. We would never play games with them and try to get them to throw them off and do something stupid that's going to hurt them. But to me, that's about how stupid it is to blame God for all of our problems when I know what John 10:10 says.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and mine was completely out of ignorance, just not knowing, and I still remember one of the things that you helped me out so much with too, and I talk about this story all the time, but we were driving, I think it was when we first started roping, and I think I missed the first 4 or something like that. I was nervous, and I still would back in the box and look over, and I was like, I cannot believe he's in the box over there, like hearing the name getting called at the same time. And, I was in such a green spot in my career, but this was an opportunity that was so good. And, then there was added pressure. It's like, all right, now you really got to try. You know how that goes.
right.
And I remember one time I'm like, I was braiding myself over something, and you're like, man, you sure are kind of hard on yourself. And I'm like, well, I've got to be. If I'm not going to be, who's going to be? And I think I remember you telling me, like, well, that's one way to look at it. But he said, what about some of your best friends that are out here rodeoing? Who were they? And I rattled them off. And he said, what would you tell them if they threw that loop? And I'm like, man, I never really thought about that. But yeah, they ain't going to miss 4 in a row. And you're like, you don't think so-and-so ain't missed 4 in a row before? And I'm like, yeah, he probably has. So what would you tell that guy? And I remember it was one of them light bulbs that went off, and I wasn't being disrespectful at all. It was just in my head. I was like, I got a lot to think about it. And I just walked off. and you came over like, hey, I didn't mean to offend you. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Well, where are you going? I said, I got to buy myself a beer. I've got a lot of apologizing to do.
To add to that story, I think I was saying, well, be your own best friend. I mean, you're a best friend to others. So
100%.
You know how to encourage them, and you know how to motivate them, and just tell them to, hey, just brush it off. Let's get up and go on and try again, and like be your own best friend. And I think that's when you told me, I'm going to be my own best friend. I'm going to go buy myself a beer and think about it. I did. I thought you're a man.
No, it was, I never thought about it like that. And I mean, for guys that have anger issues and guys that get frustrated, but if you're not for your best friend, like, it's like, wow, it was one of them. Like I said, it still ain't perfected it, but it still comes in my head so much to where in those times of frustration, like, all right, well, who am I going to talk to? Is it going to let the devil talk to me, or am I going to talk to myself like I'm my buddy?
What's so funny about the hypocrite thing that everybody used that excuse, whether it be, I think of it even in roping, like a hypocrite, like, yeah, I can memorize the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. But am I good at all of them? I mean, even lately, to be honest with you, Charlie, I've been looking at all of them. I'm like, dang. I mean, I don't know that I'm real good at any of them, even though all my life I've been working on it. It's just like you'll never conquer the sport of golf. You're never going to conquer roping. I mean, we're all going to get really good at certain, to a certain extent, but yet, I mean, it doesn't mean you're a hypocrite because you're not completely great at love all the time or joy all the time, but we can still try, can't we?
Yeah.
And that's the way I'm looking at it. It's like, call people that go to church hypocrites. They're just trying to improve their lives, just like roping. Am I a hypocrite when I teach everybody how to rope and they see me rope a leg? Oh, he's a hypocrite. I thought he caught everyone by 2 feet. We all make mistakes. And I just think we all got to give each other a little bit of grace, because interesting how God's 3 greatest tools is grace, mercy, and forgiveness. And he uses them all the time in my life and your life. So he has all the grace for you that you need, all the mercy, all the forgiveness. And if we'll do that to ourselves and then do it to others, like do unto others as you do yourself. One time that hit me is like, I give grace pretty good to certain people, but do I do it to myself? And I think that was the thing, is like, give yourself a little bit of grace and mercy, and don't beat yourself quite too much.
Yeah.
Forgive
No,
yourself.
it was pivotal. That, and I remember when I was at your house and you had talked about, I think maybe some of the when you were roping with Clay Tryon, and I think like when he was a young kid, and I remember you talking about baptizing him, I think in your water trough.
In the ditch out back.
In a ditch out back.
Ditch, yeah.
And the people that you were telling me about that you had baptized, and I remember when we were reading the Bible, and you're like, well, that's kind of the next step now, is to be able to be baptized. And I remember when you baptized me in your water trough there in Weatherford.
Yeah.
And that was a pivotal moment. But unfortunately, I thought it was like a lucky rabbit's foot. I thought everything was going to be sunshine and rainbows from that moment on. And that was good for me in the fact of, no, this is something you got to take your cross up daily. Like this is a decision after that. It's not just that. But it was interesting how you doing that for me, it was so impactful that my dad seen such a change in me that in 2010, my dad gave his life to Jesus, and he wanted me to baptize him. And
how special was that?
Baptize my dad. And then 2 years ago, Trey Johnson and I were doing a clinic up there in Oregon, and my mom came to it, and then I baptized my mom 2 years ago. Like, who would have ever thought that through team roping, through what I've done for a living, that I was going to be able to have an impact on my parents. And but that started from you. That was something that you have done in this industry to so many people, and that is something that you put on my heart and changed my life, and I'm forever grateful for it.
I appreciate that so much. It's a multi-level marketing system. It really is, and kind of like the movie Pay It Forward. I mean, you're just paying it forward, and then whoever you bless and help, just help educate them to what a good God that we serve, then they can pay it forward. And that's how the whole world is evangelized. If you think about it, how in the world for 2,000 years did Christianity just keep going all the way till it did? And it wasn't easy. There's a lot of people paid a really hard price, especially disciples. Do you know that 11 out of 12 of them died martyrs? They didn't even, only one died a natural death.
And you see it even today with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, there you go. That's another hero of faith in our own time.
Still here.
But a lot of confusion, right? A lot of people, half of them loved him and half of them hate him just because they don't understand. A lot of people, that they didn't understand Jesus, and they were literally screaming, crucify. But guess what Jesus said? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. We got to have that when people are coming against us. They don't really know what they're doing when they're criticizing us, because they don't understand. We just have a different perspective than what they do for now. But it's our job to try to help them see that.
I agree. I remember some of the stories that you would talk about, because I loved how much you studied the game. I think that to me was so incredible. On when you talk about a world title in '79, then another one, your last one in 2006. That's a lot of generations. That's a lot of roping that you did. That's a lot of study in the game. And I still remember some of the stories we talked about Clay Tryon that I think helped build him to where he learned how to make certain runs. And you guys remember, if I remember right, started setting up barriers and hitting times, and you were starting to get a strategy down where you're learning how to make runs, and you're also becoming that coach player role.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like I try to challenge people to be a champion in and out of the arena. And when I look back and think about when Dennis asked me if I would take Clay, just still in high school, I believe, to live with me for 3 months, I was like, yeah, I'll take. It was quite a challenge. Well, it was kind of a real compliment that Dennis would trust me with his son, because he was already a good roper. Dennis Tryon was also NFR qualifier and all that, but he just knew that I could probably help him with some other things, and I did. I helped him mostly with mental things, because when he showed up at my place, he was already better header than I would ever dream of being.
Yeah.
But it was more of the winning, the mental part. So I showed him a practice program in and out of the arena. It kind of makes me laugh, and I know if Clay was sitting there, he would laugh too. But with this great big old guy that, when I say big, he was probably 6'8" or 6'9", 300 pounds. but he loved the Lord as well. So every morning he would go out to Clay's little Capri camper, and we'd have Bible studies at our house, just me, Clay, Don, and Peggy. And Peggy would make breakfast, and Don would go out there and shake his camper, and Clay would. When Clay tells it, it's so much funnier because he'd be like this great big old guy's shaking the Clay, get up, Bible study time. And it's like, what? And Clay's like, what choice do I got? This giant is going to drag me out of my camper. And so every morning, that's the way Clay got up. And I showed him a practice program out of the arena. Like, so we got in there and we, just study the word, study scriptures, go out, and then we got with it. And yeah, and the funny story of it in the arena was I set up an arena, Don would flag, somebody else would time. I mean, I really rolled out the red carpet, I would believe, for Clay, because I was just really trying to show him how to not beat himself, how to be a smart roper, a controlled roper. So what I told him, I said, we got 30 head of pretty much fresh steers, like really good, barely broke in. And every day we're just going to start off and we're going to make it 5 steer, and we're going to try to be 45 on 5, just average 9 flat, simple. Get out of the barrier, 2 horns, 2 feet. Like, get out of the barrier, rope them, handle them where I can catch 5 in a row. And you know how long it took before me and Clay Tryon busted the 45 mark, the average in 9? It took forever. But I had to watch him, like, throw his rope sack down, kick the fence. He was mad. Come on, Big Al, I wouldn't let him start over either. It's like if you break the barrier, we had to finish that 5 steer, miss one, we had to finish that 5 steer. But when it was all said and done, this is what's so cool, is we only had to cut about 3 steers out of those 30. I think the last day he was there before I turned him over to Clay Cooper to rope with, because Clay had asked me about Clay Tryon, or Clay Cooper asked me about Clay Tryon. I'm like, man, he's ready. So I turned him over to him. But the last day, we had made 27 clean runs in a row, like 2 horns, 2 feet, got out of the barrier. And I don't know if anyone believes that, but that's true.
No, I believe it.
I mean, it was terrible to start.
Because the Tryon name in team roping is very similar to the Wright name in the bronc riding.
Absolutely.
You're seeing the next generation of Tyler Tryon. And, one of the things that, between Clay and Travis and his youngest brother, those guys were competitors. They were gamers. And Clay was one of them that, when you talked about a guy at the roping, he hit the barrier every time and he turned them where they needed to be turned to be winning the roping, and that's what he did. And it would to do it time and time and time again. And I thought it was interesting, that story, because it was practice. I think so many people go to the practice pin and they go rope. Like you guys were practicing. You were practicing for the jackpots.
Absolutely.
You were practicing for competition. I think so many people mistake sometimes practicing with just roping.
Yeah.
Just throwing loops. There was strategy behind that.
Yes, it's not just quantity, as you know, it's quality. And I heard even Roy Cooper say it early on in his career, but practice don't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And I've used that. I robbed that from Roy years ago, and I tell people that all the time. It's like, you got to set your practice program up to where it's going to accomplish. You had a vision, but you got to have a business plan. Everybody in business knows that, but we're businessmen with what we do in rodeo. So you got to set your practice program up to match the goal that you're trying to get, whether it be at the NFR. You know how we always shorten our arenas up, we narrow them up, and we try to emulate an NFR run. But then we go to Salinas, we open our arena up, and we practice long scorers. So practice, the quality practice is so, so important.
Talk a little bit about toward the end of your career. We talked about 05, 06, and where you're at in your roping, where you kind of had your style down. I would say you're probably learning how to maintain. I forget how old were you when you won the world title in 2006. Do you remember?
I think I was like 52.
So when we're talking about being a seasoned roper, there's a certain amount of maintenance and maintaining to be able to stay sharp. What were some of the things that you were doing to be able to stay sharp at that age? And then obviously where it ended up as a world title in 2006.
Right. Well, thank you. It's evolving, right? Because obviously not always 20-year-olds, but young people. Young people dominate almost every sport, right? So when I was young, I was roping against 20-year-olds, but when I was 30, late 30s, still roping against 20-year-olds. So as the 20-year-olds were raising the bar right right in front of me, man, I'm like, man, repent, just to use a spiritual word. All repent means change my mind about something. So I would kind of start repenting about my style. Like if I'm going to be able to keep up with the young kids, I got to get better. I've got to evolve. I'm going to evolve right with them. So in my 30s, I can still remember challenge myself to rope like a 20-year-old. When I was 40, I would challenge myself to rope like a 20-year-old. Think like one, rope like one. Even the mental game, not be scared to take a shot, but be real brave and fearless in taking these shots so that you can take the most confident, fast shot you possibly can. Even in my 50s, I was still working on trying to compete with the 20-year-olds because, as you know, well, to kind of throw this in here, kind of funny note for me, and people don't realize this, but I was a lot like Junior Nogueira back in the day. Like, I mean, the horse was just transportation. I mean, I was pretty athletic guy. I loved playing basketball and skiing and all kinds of athletic things, riding motorbikes, and Junior's that way. Only Junior's athletic ability, his hand-eye coordination was even better than mine. Jake Barnes told me that one time. He goes, man, I hope I don't offend you or Clay, but I've roped with you, Clay, Junior Nogueira. He's even got better hand-eye coordination than you or Clay. I'm like, hey, I already seen it. You're not hurting my feelings. I mean, I love that guy. I love that kid. He does. So I was like Junior, and Clay was kind of like more like Jade. So I'm sitting there watching Walt and Clay beat me using their horse, making the same shots, only I'm pulling off shots a mile away from me or on the other side. So I'm just thinking, well, I already got the athletic part down. Now I got to work on my horsemanship. So I started thinking about raising, like, you can be a 10 horseman and a 10 roper. And I don't know how you could be any better than that, or a 10 mentally. So I was like realizing that, yeah, I might have been close to a 10 as a roper, but man, my horsemanship was like that of a 4. But I was still winning money against Clay Cooper, Rich Kelton, and Walt Woodard and them guys, but I was wearing myself out physically doing it. So I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to add my horsemanship to it, and great horsemanship and athletic roping together, that's amazing. So that was kind of my vision for me halfway through my career, is to ride the best I could, rope the best, and then also not, as you get older, you want to take more conservative shots. You're not that guy that's going to be ballsy and get out there and try one on in the corner. And I tried to keep challenging myself to do that, like that as a kid. And I think that even helped me with my physically. I mean, I'm 68 right now, but I'm not really 68 because I've been around 20-year-olds all my life. I still do wheelies on a motorbike. I play basketball. I can almost still dunk it. I mean, it just helped me to stay really sharp in every way. Just my
Keeping the
roping.
hand-eye coordination,
Yeah.
between that, playing ping pong, playing basketball, feeling where that ball's at, doing different things where you're not deteriorating. That's what I think that was so much that I remember too. But I loved when you talked about hanging out with people, younger than you, because like for me, growing up, I always hung out with guys older than me. I was always searching for knowledge. I was always searching for the guys that could keep me from, walking down the wrong side of the road. And when I went from Llano up there to where you were at, that's what I'd noticed was there was so much more life in the fact of there was kids there all the time. There was, you were mentoring, I think Patrick Smith for the first little bit. Then I seen Paul Leaves, and you were hanging with those kids. Their knowledge, but their youth, it was evening out, and it was fun to kind of see that because you were still in that player coach, even if it wasn't your partner, it was in your event. And I think that makes sense now when you think about that, and when you look back at that, how you're still able to stay at that level, going into 2006. And then talk a little bit about too is winning that world title at 52. They're talking about from 79, 90, 95, and now 2006. Every one of them, I'm sure, is special in a different way, but talk about that last one.
Yeah, it was obviously one of probably one of or the best gold buckle I won, because of being older and everybody saying you can't do it. Yeah, as you know, when you're around old people, that's all they talk about is can't. 20-year-olds, all they say is they can. I mean, a 20-year-old never says can't. Old people say can't. So I was just, I was older, and I mean, I got to admit, can I really do this? Can I really do this? So I challenged myself, and of course, I got teamed up with Chad Masters, and he's such a humble, nice young man at that time in my life that we started practicing together. And you probably laugh at this story or whatever, but he was just like coming over the chute and just hanging it on him right there every time. And you just think, how much more do you want out of a young guy practicing for the NFR together? And so anyway, he's going as fast as he can, but he's also going as fast as he can to the corner. And we're just making these wild ass runs, like hard. But we go in there and watch the videos, and Chad's like, was there anything I could do any different, Big Al? Like, you've been there all these many years, and like, just don't be afraid to tell me something. I'm like, well, man, you're doing everything great. It's just like, why are you going so fast from the time you catch him to that corner over there? Well, I don't know. It's just going to the NFR. We got to be fast, right? I'm like, well, there's different ways of being fast. So me and Chad, we started having this talk, and I'm like, how about this? Do the same thing, hang it on them, get it on the saddle horn, but from then on, let's change something. I want you to relax your legs, and I just want you to lope the steer out of there. And that's where we got this funny deal, rope and lope. So he looks at me with this funny look. He goes, so we're going to the NFR, and you want me to rope and lope.
I can hear him. I can still hear him.
And and he wasn't being a smart aleck. He was like, help me understand this.
Simple.
How are we going to beat fastest guys in the world by
rope and lope?
So, oh my gosh. So it was like, I don't know, it was like 4 or 5 days into it, like 50 steers a day. You know how hard we practice for the NFR, like 50, at least 50 a day. Boy, and I mean, he'd just get mad and was at it. He'd try to kind of hold him up in the corner and kind of create a dead spot. And he try to go down the arena a little bit. He did everything but rope and lope. So about the 5th day, I just kept telling him the same thing. It's like, Chad, just relax your legs. When you stick it on them, just relax right there at that point in the run and just allow your horse to lope out of there and just guide that steer around. And just trust me, I'm going to take the first good shot. So you're not going to have to pull him very far anyway. So eventually, about the 5th day, halfway through, he just throws his rope in the air, and I thought I'd snapped him. I really did. I thought, man, I've lost my partner. And he goes, oh my gosh. He goes, Big Al, I got it. You don't have to tell me another thing. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, really. He goes, every time I try something different, all you tell me is rope and lope. He goes, I know now how to rope and lope. He goes, but I tried everything but that. He goes, all I got to do is relax my legs right there. I'm like, yeah, that's all you got to do. Mm-hmm. So, man, Chad, that year, he just, because of that practice program, and he'll admit that, it was like he would just do the same thing at the NFR. He'd take the fastest shot he could, get a great start, hang it on him, handle him really good. I catch him all by 2 feet. We win the world. We won the average, set the money winning record, and win the world with rope and lope. And you know how many schools I've told people that, and they're kind of like, really? Did that really happen? No, that really happened.
Well, there's such a slowdown period with when you rope to where you've got to be able to slow that horse down. He's got to be able to collect and pedal right there because he's got to be able to match the same stride as that steer.
Yeah.
And there's so much feel to that if you try to do it when you're locked in like this, there's no feel. It's kind of like trying to, what I feel like is it would be trying to like get a 6-foot putt on your putter, which is holding that thing like you're going to do a clean, a power clean for 280, whatever it is. Like if you don't relax to find that feel of that putt, it's the same way with if you don't relax and be able to feel where that horse is so you can feel where the steer is, there's a connection there. And I've noticed when I'd rope, when I'd tighten up, that energy goes down.
Yes.
Then my horse is that way. And there's so much, and it's a learned skill.
Mhm.
It's not easy. It's not natural.
Not
It's a
natural.
lot of reps to be able to learn how to be able to rope, because there's so much adrenaline. For me, there's a lot of adrenaline, because if I roped one fast, I was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to win something. and then all of a sudden my right leg got ahead of me and I jerked the crap out of the steer. And I'm like, oh man, if I can just slow down right there
Yeah.
after that adrenaline, because it's not easy to do. And
It's
just learn.
controlled. It's
Mm.
controlled speed, controlled aggression. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think where I understood it was watching Speedy on Viper.
Mm.
How many times did he hang it on him, but he just let Viper get collected
Mhm.
and just shorten up right there? And in his mind, he did it to kind of, because Rich didn't like going very fast, so he was taking care of Rich in his own mind. But I just thought he did a great job of managing
King roping.
Viper.
Yeah.
So Viper lasted a long, I mean, how many NFRs did that little horse last because he did that?
Yeah.
Well, Chad, that year, I don't know if you remember that, we roped together the next year. And he was telling me that first year that he had this old horse, bay horse. He goes, I don't know that I'm going to get through all 10 runs. I might only get halfway through, and I'll have to ride my second string horse.
Cody.
Yeah.
I think Cody was his good horse. Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm like, no, I believe if we rope and lope, you'll get all 10 runs out of him. Well, guess what? The next year, he gets
wins the
10 more runs out of him. And we almost win the average the next year. We went second in the average next year and second to the most money. And he won the world that year.
Yeah.
So we won 2 world titles roping and loping.
Because I remember after you guys rope and you won the world, his confidence going into the next year, man, he was doing whatever he wanted.
Mhm.
It was fun to watch. But that confidence and that run of being able to get around someone that's knowledgeable, man, really carried through with his confidence. And
Yeah. Well, it was so cool. I mean, but you have to have a very teachable, coachable person. I mean, it's just an honor to me that he would trust me.
Yeah.
And then Luke, I mean, I've got to.
Oh yeah, and talk
Pour-
about Luke. That guy is a grinder.
Yeah, I
Holy moly!
poured into him, but
Yeah.
I mean, what an honor
Yeah,
that guy trusts me.
because he would talk about, man, I need to go rope. I need to go rope at Al's. I just need to go run 100. You know, that guy learned, I think, maybe from you, how fast can you? I think he used to time how fast he could run 50 steers. Like he would put it down to an art, and he loved it. He's like, "Oh man, I got to go rope with Al. I needed me some Godfather. I needed to be able to get around someone and break the run down. Where now I feel like some rhythm.
Mhm.
You know what you've done so much with your coaching ability is being able to help guys find that rhythm and find that run. So when you get there, like there's confidence and the wisdom that you would help, and especially on the head side, you know, because there's so much of an art with seeing from the heel side so many runs and where the angles need to be, where a lot of times it's so easy, especially back then, to rope fast but then still keep going fast. It's hard to learn how to be disciplined then after you rope to be able to control the horse and the steer.
Well, thank you. I mean, it really was just, it was a kind of a great accomplishment being a strong competitor in my life. But honestly, I think it might even been more rewarding being a good teacher and a coach.
Yeah.
Because I have been able to be blessed to be able to help so many get to the NFR and win world champions and stuff like that. And I mean, honestly, I think I'm as proud of my coaching career as I am the other, just because it's cool. Like God's word says that we're destroyed for our lack of knowledge. And I really look at roping as this big jigsaw puzzle. You know, you got riding, the mental game, and you got the roping, and your mental game brings the riding and the roping together. But just imagine a jigsaw puzzle and imagine like there's 900 pieces in it. 300 of them have to do with riding, 300 with the mental game, and 300 with roping. And it's like when something goes wrong as a competitor, you got to be able to reach up and pick the right piece to work on. Because if it ain't broke, you don't want to try to fix it. So you've got to understand you're roping good enough to reach up in that jigsaw puzzle and pick the right one. It might just be a little mental thing that is hurting you. Because as you know, so many people are so equal in ability nowadays that the mentally tough is the ones that are going to be the best.
My new online course, The Basics of Horsemanship for Roping, is now available. This course takes everything we've covered from the basics of roping and puts it into action. You'll learn how to properly use your left hand and feet to create clear cues for your horse and making sure your tack fits your horse correctly. There will be detailed live run breakdowns and real jackpot scenarios. Head over to charlycrawford.training, click under the course tab, and sign up today. If you haven't picked up the basics of roping yet, check out the Basics Bundle. You'll save 20% and get both courses to help take your roping and your horsemanship to the next level.
What within your career and probably even now as well, your ability to coach, your ability with the mental game, what are some things, some books that you stick out to you that have helped you in some of your pivotal moments where maybe it was this book that helped you with competition, maybe it was this book that helped you with focus, maybe it was this book that helped you learn business side of roping in and out of the arena. What are some of the books that you remembered being pivotal for you that a lot of young kids could?
I think the inner game of tennis was the first one that really, as before we even got started, we was talking about the conscious and subconscious mind, and the inner game at tennis kind of introduced me to recognizing what the difference was between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, and how if you allow yourself to keep micromanaging your subconscious mind, it's just not going to work very good. But then it was also the knowledge of knowing that our subconscious is like operates 100 times faster. And I'm just grabbing that as a number, but it works so much faster than our conscious mind. So when you're in a fast run, like a 4-second run, it has to be all subconscious, because we can see the run really, really clear when we relax. Mentally, you got to tell you to relax and see it clear, but you have to trust your subconscious to do that. But in the practice pen, that's where your conscious mind comes in as a great partner to your inner game, because without that conscious mind fixing something in your subconscious, and I'm here to tell you, there's even mentally, there's a comfort zone that people don't want to get out of. But if there's something mentally that's holding you back, it might just be false humility. It's like, I just can't get by the fourth one. I just can't catch the first one. Can't. And you just got to repent of that, change your mind about it, and like, no, I can. You can and you will. And every steer can be the same if you let it be. And it doesn't have to be complicated. So, I mean, I believe that Inner Game of Tennis was an amazing book for me. Mental Management was one of the last ones I read, and I actually didn't read it. It was an audio book that I listened to 3 times through. Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh, this guy's amazing. He was actually a shooter, and talking about raising his level of concentration to be able to, can you imagine concentrating on 1,000 shots and hitting the bullseye every time?
Focus. In
the Olympics, the contest is take 1,000 shots and see who can hit the bullseye that many times. Well,
that's wild.
Yeah, and then the part that's really wild is, I mean, and that's my challenge to you ropers out there, is like, how many times in the practice pen, how many could you go without missing?
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes it's fun to challenge, even on the dummy, or I used to do that shooting free throws. How many could I shoot in a row without missing? And I think when I was shooting quite a bit, I could 38, 39, 40. I don't know if I ever got 50, but I could shoot a lot of free throws. But I could always know what's going on in my mind. Like, oh man, I'm to 20. If I miss this one, I got to start all over again.
And I remember, because I think you and probably Clay try and talk about this, because I remember he would say that they would do so many in a row, so many in a row, so many in a row. And I'm sure because of a lot of the strategy when you guys roped when he was young, there was to that. And I remember when there would be times like I would get 10 steers to break in. I'm like, all right, I'm going to run them twice today, and I rope 20 in a row. The amount of times I missed 17, 18, 19, and 20 was pretty consistent, because the closer it got to 20 was when I could feel the shortness of breath. I could feel my focus changing. And then as soon as I would miss and then go rope the next one, every time. I never missed that one. So to me, there was something to when it got closer to that number you're aiming for, that you could feel it getting more and more pressure of that moment.
Yeah, mental management. I mean, I think that was a great actually title for that that book that guy, but it's great for all competitors, mental management. And how well is that working for you? And to me, it's like, if you can't catch 4 in a row in the practice pen, what would make you think that you're going to go down to the local jackpot and catch 4 in a row?
Because to me, that's practice. Now let's, all right, round number 1, World Series Finals in Vegas. Round number 2, round number 3. Then you miss, and you're like, that's the same one I missed the jackpot. Okay, that's where you could actually get some info. Now you can get some intel. What changed? What was your focus on round number 1, and what changed from round 3? Because to me, if that's the same thing that keeps happening, now you're practicing. That's probably the cheapest jackpot you'll ever get to when you start putting out that kind of pressure, I feel like, on yourself in the practice pen. So then once you find that recipe of whatever that focus is, because a lot of that's yours, I think, like what you might tell yourself might be something different than what Clay tells yourself. But the same thing is, it owns you in to where you go to do your job.
Yeah. And we all have different ways of executing. Mine might be a different mental trick than Clay Tryon's or even Clay Cooper. Clay Cooper is just almost the most natural best. He just does the same thing over and over, and it's like, oh wow, well that's simple for him, but us overthinkers, what are we going to do? So you kind of got to put your conscious mind somewhere. And I learned that a long time ago, is if I just ride in the box, and if I just consciously think of one thing, maybe it's just get the right start, or pick my rope up early, or think about watching the feet early. I mean, just give my conscious friend a job to do, but only one job to do. Then the subconscious guy, he'll handle the rest. I mean, that was just my own little overthinking way of giving my conscious mind a job to do or whatever. But I really think that mental blocks are a big deal. And I don't know, there's just so many people that are so good at grabbing mental blocks. Well, I miss the first one all the time. I miss the second one all the time. Or it seems like I always lose legs, or I miss the high teamer. But you can always turn that around and be like, I would kid around with people. I'm a fourth quarter player. And by gosh, I actually was able to accomplish being a fourth quarter player. But you have to see yourself as a finisher, as a fourth quarter player. I'm the guy that always drops the ball in the end zone. Well, you think, there you go. Now you got a mental block. You're probably the guy that's going to drop the ball in the end zone next time too. But no, I don't ever drop the ball in the end zone, hardly ever. Yes, I missed some few high teamers in my life, but by gosh, I'm that guy like Trevor. I can forget about that one. And then I used this trick on Monty Pesca one time at Denver. But Denver, we were riding around getting ready for the short go, me and Monty, and we're about the same high team. And Monty goes, hey, Big Al, like that, are you kind of get nervous still, like in a situation like this? I'm like, of course I do. But it's just like, I don't let it affect me. And actually, I like pressure. Pressure makes me concentrate even to a higher level. So I conned myself into believing that pressure actually made me focus better. And I really do think that pressure with some people brings the best out of them. Some people, pressure squashes them or hurts them. But I like to believe, and that's what you got to train yourself to believe, that pressure makes you better.
Well, and I think too is that a guy's got to learn how to do it at home. I really feel like that if you can figure out what that pressure moment was in the jackpot and try to desensitize yourself of that at home. Okay, now this is what happened here. I caught this steer. Okay, now the steer that you caught, let's own in on that. What'd you do good? Okay, now can you keep doing that? I liked when there was another book that I liked called With Winning in Mind. And Trey and I went to one of his courses there in Flower Mound. And he was telling me one time, he said, rope like you don't even know what round it is. Just focus on your job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I can't hear very good, so that works out pretty good, and but I loved it in the fact of it had me honed in on just rope what I got, rope what I draw, hit the start and set up my run every time. And my focus when I got done, I think it was a Wildfire, and me and Logan ended up winning it. And it was like, that was one of the easiest ropings I've ever roped in, where I'm usually mentally exhausted, because I'm watching every single thing and trying to own in on so many things, where most ropings I'm exhausted. This one was just go do your job and rope like you don't know what round it is. And I just went and did my job, and it was good enough. It was really a lot to that, and the fact of it allowed me, I stayed relaxed the whole time. And I think there's a recipe that you're trying to create in the practice pen on that run that you're trying to make. And now, what do you focus on? What were you telling yourself? What do you feel right there? What were you owned in on? What was your mental game walking into that box? Try to remember those things where once you own in on that, now just keep doing that where it's a habit.
Yeah,
So when
repeat
the
the
pressure's
process.
there, you have something to rely on. But for a lot of us, the pressure is that little shiny object that can take you off of your of the job that you need to do. Like Bill Belichick said at the Super Bowl, he told his team, "Do your job. Do your job." Well, your job is to hit the start, set that steer up. Your job is to get up there, set up your shot. Do your job. Well, if that's the focus, it takes your eye off of the money, the saddle, the pressure, all that stuff. Because like for him, he was telling his team to not read the newspaper and not watch ESPN, avoid the noise, right? Well, for us, for a lot of these ropers going to the World Series finals in Vegas, $150,000 to $175,000 a man, that's some life-changing money that you're roping towards. Well, the announcer's job in that little arena is to build the drama. When that high team comes in, there's not a red seat there that doesn't have a butt in it. There's an aisle right there. It's standing room only watching that short round. So you can feel the tension in that room. The announcer's job is to build that tension as strong as it can, because we're also still in the entertainment industry.
Right.
You're wanting to see, okay, this guy's got a chance to win the $175,000. All he's got to do is go be 7 or 8 or whatever the time is. And whatever's going on in this guy's mind, like, you can feel the pressure. Because if he runs up there and does his job, the roof's going to blow off the top of that thing. If he runs in there and freaking lays an egg, you can feel the air go out of that arena. That's the announcer's job, is to build that tension. So how are we as ropers trying to put ourselves in a similar situation as close as we can at home, so we're not practicing that in competition? That's what I think a lot of those things are, to where, how are you practicing? Not just roping, but how are you practicing?
Are you putting pressure on yourself in the practice pen? And I would do that to the boys all the time. And I just used funny little things like, we're going to have a 4 steer here, and you don't catch 4 in a row, you do 20 push-ups, or we're going to rope for a milkshake. I mean, I always had something to challenge them, to where there's some kind of consequence. You're either going to buy me a milkshake, you're going to do push-ups, something. Joel, it used to be like, if he would leak in and cut the corner, I'd make him do 20 push-ups. So there's some kind of a consequence involved in it, or whatever.
Yeah. But those were things that when I started getting the feel of that at home, then when it showed up, it was like, well, you know how many times I've done this at home? I finally get to do it.
Yeah,
now.
isn't that one of the greatest accomplishments of everything, is when you conquer your own mind? Do you remember For the Love of the Game, Kevin Costner?
Yep.
There was a moment. Clear the mechanism.
Yep.
My mind has always went back to that time in that movie, and especially the time when he couldn't. I mean, most times as a pitcher, for those that you don't know what it is.
And then looked at the scoreboard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He would stand up on the mound, and then it was clever the way they did it in Hollywood, because you could hear all the noise.
Train going
picture
by.
myself hearing, the crowd, Bob Tallman, like you say, creating this pressure environment. And then they do the same thing in all sports. But then that guy was able to they would actually mute, they turn down the noise, turn down everything, and he would clear the mechanism. And that right there might help so many people that are listening right now, is learn to master, because the only thing that matters is what's before you. Like whether it be him throwing a
strike,
a fastball, a curve, whatever he was wanting to accomplish at that moment, or me knowing I can't just catch the steer at the NFR, but I got to win the go-round. So I got to clear the mechanism, and that means clear all the consequences out of it. Like, what if I miss? What if I cost Bobby Hurley the world championship? Don't think I didn't think about that, but
how did you block it? Yeah.
Clay Cooper helped me with it years before that. In and by, in and by.
In and by.
So when that thought came to my mind, what if I missed? I just
Bye.
I quickly went by.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I got to write that one down. I like that.
It's amazing. I live by it ever since
Mhm.
Clay Cooper told me that. And that in and by will help you control your thought life. And could you imagine, like, all we're talking about is roping, but what if we would take these principles out of the arena in life? How many people wouldn't have been in prison if they could have managed their emotions and managed their thought life, like, and not pulled the trigger, not threw the punch, not raped the girl, not whatever.
Fruit of the spirit, learn how to manage your, control your emotions. There's so much to that self. I forgot the last one you said. I always, I can't remember which one is this. Basically, control
Self-control.
your emotions, self-control,
Yeah.
self-control, and that's one, in my opinion, too, is learned for a lot of people. Depending on what your background
It ain't
was.
natural.
It ain't natural, and then especially if that's what you saw growing up. And so, like, it's amazing how many self-help books you can even read. An atheist self-help book, but it all goes back to the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Every success manual goes back to the successful principles, go back to the Bible.
The Bible's all about winning. And I don't know, certain people don't know this, but I would challenge you to get one of these little Bible promise books. But do you know how many promises there are in the Bible? I mean, most people, they perceive the Bible as a bunch of don'ts. Don't do this, don't do that. But it's really, it's all about do's, and you can do this, you can do this. But there's over 8,000 promises in the Bible, and they are somewhat conditional, kind of like, Alan, if you'll do this, God says I'll do that. But they're all promises.
Mm-hmm.
There's 8,000 promises. So, I mean, it's all about winning. I mean, the Bible's all about winning, and I think more people would want to study and enjoy. Like, don't you enjoy breaking scripture down? I do. I mean, it's fun for me.
When you can truly feel the iron sharpening iron when two people get in the room
Yeah.
and start talking about scripture that's helped them with this, and this. It's you look up and it's 2 hours.
Well, tell me about this. Tell me this scripture wouldn't help most ropers. For God did not give us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. So I use that a lot going into the hill box at the NFR, more than any other scripture I know of. Just trying to get through my mind. If God doesn't want me to have fear, what's the opposite of fear? Faith.
Mm-hmm.
He wants me to have faith in myself. What would a man that had 100% confidence in himself and God look like? Well, isn't that David and Goliath?
Mm.
That you could be another. I mean, there's all kinds of Goliaths in our life, but we can kind of remember that scripture. And what does power, love, and a sound mind? It's fun to kind of break those down. He wants to have us have powerful minds to make decisions, and not have to wear it out and wear it out. I see some people, they're so afraid to make decisions in their life. Oh, maybe I should buy that piece of property. Then you miss on it, and then you miss an opportunity to make some money on real estate. Or I could have roped with that guy, but I was too afraid to make a change, and so you miss an opportunity. Or I could have bought that horse, but then guess what? Trevor's got that horse now because he's not afraid to pull the trigger.
Yes.
Power, love, a sound mind. Sound mind, by definition, is just a disciplined mind.
Yeah.
So just who doesn't want to have power, love, and a sound mind? But it's like fear will paralyze people. I mean, you're riding the heading box or the heeling box, and you're thinking about scoring, knowing that you got to just knock it out, ring it out of there to get a go, to get it on them to win the day money. It's like you can't have fear in your mind. It has to be confidence. Confidence is faith.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a lot of people know that, but I just think of faith in myself as confidence in myself, or faith in God is just confidence in God. And again, if we had the ultimate confidence in ourselves and God, what would that look like?
Yeah.
The world couldn't stop you. And you'd be making good decisions, and you would be operating in the fruits of the Spirit.
In and out of the arena.
In and out of the arena.
100%.
And yeah, it's like, it's great to be a winner in the arena, but wouldn't you say it's a lot better to be a winner in and out of the arena? I mean, if you're going to have a vision or a goal for your life, I'd much rather go shoot for it.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to add something
Yeah.
for people that don't know me, don't know my life, but it's like I was a rebel with a cause. And even though a lot of people didn't like me or didn't understand my faith and kind of walk the other direction, hide their beer and quit cussing when I'm around. And I'm that guy that, hey, I've cussed before, I've drank beer before. That's not a big deal to me, and it's not a big deal to any man of faith that isn't religious. I'm not a religious man. I'm just a guy that tries his best to, live by the Bible and do the best he can. But when John 10:10 says Jesus come to give life and life more abundantly, he multiplied my time, and I can't tell you. Would you probably remember? I would had a basketball hoop on the back of my trailer, and everywhere I went competing, I'd roll that down. Tough Cooper, all these bulldoggers come up, and we'd play a pickup game, and I'd go to every YMCA doing pickup games. I'd put my motorbike or my dirt bike or my Harley in the horse trailer with me, go up to Vernal, Utah, unload my bike after the slack, drive up the Green River, and I just had a ball. I went skydiving, scuba diving. I was always doing fun things while my career was going on, and personal ministry. It's like, it is fun to be a Christian. It is fun to serve the Lord. And people that are at the bar having fun. I even had this talk, believe it or not, with, Billy Bob's, meaning Billy Mimic. He goes, hey, I hear you doing these Forever Cowboys camps. What's that all about? I thought he's making fun of me, but I know he wasn't. Like, man, I'm just trying to create an environment just like you. My hat's off to you, because families love going to Billy Bob's. They have a good time, have a few beers, they, throw darts, compete, pool and everything. They're just having a good time dancing and everything. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just wanted to create the same environment in one of my Forever Cowboys camps, which I had about 30 of them. I just wanted to show people you can have so much fun without getting drunk. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we didn't drink at the camps because I didn't want to give them the wrong, the wrong thing. Am I against having a beer once in a while? No. But on the other hand, I just wanted to prove to people you can have so much fun without, doing drugs or something artificial.
Yeah, the short term.
Just short term. Yeah, sin has its season, but it's always short term. If you want longevity in your life and have joy all the way through your life, you got to pick the right path. And
absolutely. Inner buy. I love it. Well, so for people that are trying to get a hold of you to be able to come to one of your clinics, your Forever Cowboy clinics, what websites, Facebook, how does a guy get a hold of you to be able to find out your schedules for up and coming clinics?
Well, thank you. I'm not here to advertise for myself or anything.
I am.
Well, thank
I'm here
you.
to advertise for
thank
you,
you, Charlie. But
we're all in this together.
I was just here for you because you've just been one of my best friends all my life, and I'm watching you do so many good things with the military and everything, and I'm just here to kind of help support what you're doing. But obviously on Facebook or YouTube. I'm going to do a lot more stuff on YouTube, and we'll probably have on YouTube connect into Instagram and all the stuff that you know about. I'm an old guy, so I have to keep challenging myself to evolve even in social media to understand.
Yeah, you're going to do good at it because we've broke it down before, and you to be able to put things in place where people can see it so YouTube, where you can video you explaining things on how to rope, is going to be super helpful for so many people.
Yeah, and I'm actually excited. I had to take a break from it for a few years, and we didn't talk about my stroke, but it set me back a little bit. But through my faith and everything, I'm stronger than ever, and I feel really good. And I think I'm more creative than ever because my DNA is of the creator of the universe. So I have a lot of creative things that I want to do, like everybody's using, the drones nowadays, but I'd like to do a lot of drone footage at my place and just talk about things in the run that will help people. And I'm not going to charge anybody for it. I just want to put that information out just to bless them because I've been so blessed. And of course, we'll have clinics at our place, and I am going to do some more roping schools out around the country, and looking forward to that. Hopefully you and me can do a school.
That'd be fun
together.
That'd be really fun. Love to come to one of the Forever Cowboys clinics again as well. I remember when we were roping, I got to help with that. And I remember Paul Lees was there, this little wet behind his ears kid. And so those were fun because it was, I enjoyed to get up every morning, read the Bible, and then go rope and being able to work at things. And it was fun. I really enjoyed those camps.
Do you remember the 30-day camp I did? I mean, a lot of people don't know that I ever did that. And I probably would have never dreamed that I would commit to do something like that. But I actually had this idea to pick 12 young men from around the country and spend 30 days with them, because I connect certain principles, like it takes 30 days to break an old habit and reform a new habit. Everybody's heard that, right? But what if you could have a young man and have him stay with you and teach him roping and faith for 30 days? And so we actually did that, and I had them write down why they wanted to come. So I handpicked 12 students for a whole month, and they stayed with me and Peggy. They pitched tents out around our property. They plugged into our RV spots and everything. Anthony Lucia was one. Andrew Ward was one. Paul Eves. Just so many cool young men. But it was amazing, and I was really telling you all this to tell you this. At the end of it, what I wasn't ready for, I was prepared for all of it, except this. They were like, well, Mr. Bach, is there any way that we could stay? We love learning about Jesus, and we love learning about worship and prayer and the right way to pray, and we love learning about roping, but it's not like that at home. And is there any way that we could just stay here? I'm telling you that my heart sank because I wasn't ready for that. Yeah. And Paul was one of them, and I could see something in Paul, that he was going to be great. So I allowed Paul to stay, and unfortunately, I had to tell the kids, well, sorry, it's just a 30-day program. And it was hard. I wanted to just keep them there, but you'd have thought I'd have been exhausted after morning, noon, and night. We had a message at breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, but I promised them it'd only be a 20-minute message. But we invested so many good things into those boys, and they went on to have such successful lives and everything. It was the greatest thing I've ever done, I believe. Yeah. That 30-day mentorship camp.
That's awesome. Well, Big Al, I appreciate you coming in, man.
That was fun.
Can't tell you how much I've enjoyed our friendship and watched your career and idolized you, and then to be able to rodeo with you, then become friends and stay friends. And
same here. Let's finish strong.
Yeah. Hats off to you on just all the lives you've touched and everything you've done. And it's really just inspiring to see what God's done through you, through your career, through what a rope in your hand could do to change so many lives. And just man,
blew my mind that being a roper would lead me to so many different places. But God can use your talents and abilities to take you places you never dreamed of.
I agree.
And that's my challenge is, man, give God that shot. He's got a plan for your life, so just trust him. It's what he got to lose. The creator of the universe wants to use you to have this amazing life. Trust him.
Yeah, and he can use anyone.
Yeah, look at me, dumb kid from Washington.
I love it, man. I love you, brother, and thanks for coming on.
Love you, Charlie. Thanks.